we have a member of the legendary 1.6 Golden Five, who in recent years, maybe you know him a little bit more for coaching Virtus.pro and Envy, Kuben. Kuben, thank you for joining us tonight. And I guess congratulations on becoming the new coach of Mad Lions.
Yeah, hello everyone. Yeah, I'm very excited about being part of this project. It's been a while since we started our talks, like I think more than 2 months already. So
wow.
Yeah, and I'm happy that we kept it under the secret for so long.
One of the best kept esports secrets, announcing a coach on the show without it getting leaked. So
some fun to your space with Xtrfy, designed in Sweden with focus on quality products built on experience. You're looking at Project 4, their 4th generation of products with super cool colorways to stand out, with matching sets to satisfy with a solid B4 bungee, lightweight ergonomic M4 mouse, the K4 keyboard is fantastic, all of which are performance focused, and finish it off with colorful GP4 mouse mats that are bold in design and smooth on the surface. The retro theme in particular has got the feels. Complete your setup with Xtrfy. No regrets, guaranteed.
Headshot, nice. Fist bumps go to the teammates. I wanna hear your go, go, go. I wanna see you falling fast. Win the round. Win the game. Very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Counter-Strike fans all over the globe, welcome to another episode of HLTV Confirmed, brought to you by Xtrfy. That is Xtrfy.com. That's for all your peripheral needs. Check them out. They are sponsor of the show, supporter, sponsor, jam the two words together. And tonight we have a new sponsor of the show. I'm going to butcher the pronunciation of this. I'm not Russian. I apologize. It is parimatch.com. That is P-A-R-I match.com. And gamble responsibly if you head over there and check that one out. So let's get this one going. Today is Tuesday, the 16th of March. The year is 2021, surprisingly. And this is episode 31 of season 5. So let's keep going through this housekeeping. We'll bang it out. On tonight's show, we got the hot seat. We're going to be introducing the Mad Lions' new coach. So it's a bit of a special thing we're doing here this evening. We got the recent news, more roster changes. Are the 6-man rosters dead? ESL Pro League so far, and all that good stuff up until this date. So we're going to be jumping through that tonight. And remember, you can check it out, all the audio options, if you head over to anchor.fm/HLTV. Let's introduce the crew. Lucas has been saying, there's a lot of problems. But Lucas, I don't really care about the problems in the production room. What did you have to eat last?
Oh, I made some wok. Is that
what?
It's like
like wok.
Yeah, wok.
It's like Chinese or whatever.
Yeah, the Chinese thing with like stir fry.
like
exactly. I made a stir fry with like.
Do you actually own a wok?
No.
No.
So
okay.
It's a fake one. Fake wok.
So it is a stir fry. We'll try and get you a wok, and then you can make something in a wok. That'll be exciting. Maybe Lucas's Christmas present. All right. Striker. I want to come up with a jingle. Maybe if there's a listener at home who's quite talented or whatever, they could come up with a dating profile. You can use what I'm about to do here. Striker's dating profile. All right, use a bit of a jingle. I want that. I want that every time we get to the start of the show. Now, I had to go onto eharmony.com to get some questions because I'm running out. So I jumped on eHarmony, and here's the question for this week's episode. Are you open to meet someone who already has children?
Tough question.
I honestly don't know.
Okay.
Probably not. All right. I think that's too far. It's like it's too much to jump into, I think.
All right. Just too young for that.
There you go. So, no kids, ladies and gents. He wants no children.
No strings attached.
None of the baggage that comes with that. All right. Another new segment that I think we should do on a weekly basis is Prof's Corona Watch. And then we have like a news jingle. And then basically, Prof, what I want to know is you're like spidey senses. Okay. How are they tingling? Do you think we're going back to LAN in a studio or LAN environment anytime soon, like the positive people of the Counter-Strike community will have us believe?
It's gonna be difficult. I'm like aiming for the major. Before that, I don't know anything.
But we
For the
need
summer
an
hard.
RMR before the major.
Yeah, that's gonna be.
That's the problem.
That is problematic. But yeah, I did have Corona though. Did I share that information?
You didn't.
It was like absolutely. I don't know where I got. I don't even leave the house. It's just like magically sent through like laser beams or some shit through my window.
Don't say that in public, man. Like people are just gonna get so scared.
But yeah, I went through it, so I'm like free to travel and do shit, I guess.
Okay.
But that is allowed.
Well, that's bad and good, I guess, at the same time. So that maybe we'll cross over next time. I'll be like, Prof, can you hear us on the sidelines? And we'll make it a whole thing. It might become a whole thing. Anyway, as I mentioned, we have something special going on tonight's show. We'll be announcing the new coach of Mad Lions, who currently, I think, only have one player signed. We're going to get to the bottom of all that news, but we need to play that bumper first. So Lucas, roll that thing and let's get the hot seat going. Drum roll, please, as you can probably see on your screens at home. We have a member of the legendary 1.6 Golden 5, who in recent years, maybe you know him a little bit more for coaching Virtus.pro and Envy, Kuben. Kuben, thank you for joining us tonight. And I guess congratulations on becoming the new coach of Mad Lions.
Yeah, hello everyone. Yeah, I'm very excited about being part of this project. It's been a while since we started our talks, like I think more than 2 months already. So
wow.
Yeah. And I'm happy that we kept it under the secret for so long.
One of the best kept esports secrets, announcing a coach on the show without it getting leaked. So there was some people who guessed, right? We put up some very baity type images, and people obviously weren't too sure who it was going to be. Now, I suppose the best thing that we can start with here, you just mentioned it's been in talks for about 2 months, but how did this all come about? The start of the year, obviously there was no longer a part of the Envy roster that kind of all capitulated, fell apart. How did you get in talks with Mad Lions? Did Regin come on over, who's, for those people playing at home, a senior manager? His bio says at Mad Lions. How did all the conversations begin?
Yeah, so first of all, like during first 2 weeks, we haven't been told yet what's going to be the future of Envy lineup. Like, I mean, I was kind of warned before the Christmas time, but I didn't want to share such information with the players, just not to break their, situation and like the time spent with family. I had similar situation the year before when we were just going over the breaking process in VP. So I didn't want the players to feel the same, because it's like, really it sucks to spend time with such mindset. And yeah, like once we knew that Envy is over, like I think it was less than a week when Alan contacted me, Alan Regin Peterson, and he invited me for a talk, but he didn't reveal any news. Like he couldn't tell me more than, I just want to talk with you, I have something. And I was like approached by a couple of people at this time, so I wasn't taking it too serious. I was just like, let's just give it a try. Like I have nothing to do right now. Like I was kind of not expecting to me joining the team as soon as I joined, actually, because last year I had like 8 months, 8 months break until I joined Envy. So yeah, like we started talking, and basically I think I had like 3 or 4 talks with him. But what's the most interesting and what kind of convinced me to join this team is like that I actually had like 5 stages of interviews. It wasn't like, I like the guy, I like his approach, I like his story, his experience, I like how he talks, I see the leadership skills in him, let's just sign him. Like it wasn't like this. So I had like a couple of talks with him. Then I have met like Jonathan Musambani, who was at this time like manager of the team and assistant coach of Peacemaker. Then I had to fill like psychological tests as well. I had a meeting with sports psychologist. Then I had the meeting with like CSO, like chief sports officer, I think. And then finally, like it was just negotiations when we already kind of knew that I'm gonna become a coach. So I really like how professional it was. And actually, this is the same way we kind of approach the players. So we need to make sure that they are willing to be part of this project. But yeah, probably we'll talk about it more really soon.
Sure. Okay, that sounds like you went through a lot of different vetting processes there to get this one decided. So I think it's quite interesting to note that they had been speaking to you for such a long time, and we had still seen Mad Lions in recent times trying to, make some moves, right? TMB, I think, was the one that was most recently signed and the only one. I'm not sure if he's still officially on the roster, and I suppose we can dig into more of that with you. But Mad Lions have clearly been looking at rebuilding for some time, right? So is this another one of these projects where you're coming in and you're just going to try and fix the problems on the fly, or are you given like full control of this situation?
Actually, I may surprise everyone, but Mad Lions and we kind of decided to go completely different way. And what we're going to do is just heavily investing into coaching stuff first. So right now, our team consists of like 5 people, which is 2 guys from performance team, which is like sports psychologist Martina. There is Jake, who's like performance manager. He's osteopath, but he's responsible for like nutrition, reaction speed, like warm-up games, injury prevention, and like meditation, like help to like show the players how to breathe and stuff like that. There is my assistant, Musambani, who will remain an assistant coach, and Alan, known as Regin, who will be GM of the project, and me as a head coach. So we will have like group of people working on players' development. And this is like, we think, like together with Mad Lions, that 2021, since it's still pandemic year, I think this is the right time, since there is no LANs yet. Like, I hope there will be one at the end of the year. Everyone is expecting, of course, the major. But we want to use this year to kind of, let's say honestly, like experiment, right? Like we don't know how it will go. I think we are one of the few, or even maybe first team doing that. So yeah, I'm like I said, like it's just different way, and we think we can develop the players in such shorter time than just, it's like when you go to school, your sports teacher just gives you a ball and play football, right? And I don't want to compare it like the same way to CS, but very often it's just a coach and 5 players, and let's just see like if they can perform or not. So it's like high risk investment, I would say. And when we kind of build up the coaching stuff first, we build based on like experienced players, because all of us, like regarding the coaching, I mean regarding CS related things, both Jonathan and Alan, they were coaches of their teams before, and I was the coach for many years as well. So I think it's in connection with performance teams, it's a great mixture of experience which we can spread onto players.
Okay, so looking at building a bit of a system from the top down there. Now, Striker and Prof, I'm sure you guys have plenty of questions. Prof, I'm going to start with you. Do you have anything here with the joining of Mad Lions, or starting to get into the direction here that Kuben's speaking about?
Yeah, like was that, you obviously like explained kind of the direction of the team and how you want to build the lineup. Was that then why you wanted to kind of start clean? Because you kind of got rid of the whole lineup, the Danish team that was already there. 2 of them sold to Heroic, 2 benched, and only TMB, who didn't actually play any official games for Mad Lions. He's the only one that is remaining, right? So was the idea to like clean the slate, remove the players that have their own like kind of way of thinking, so you can get new players and start from zero?
When I actually took over the role of the head coach, like I think less than a week, when we were kind of structuring the plan for upcoming months, actually Heroic came up with an idea of buying out 2 of our players. So I didn't even have a time to talk with all of them. This is what I wanted to do, to talk to all of the players first, to know them better, and to make a decision. I didn't want to keep more than like 3 players, 3 Danish players, because then I don't believe that having the core of the currently existing teams would make heavy change on the current structure. I think that only keeping like maximum of 2 Danish players would make any sense. But like thankfully or not thankfully, Heroic came up with an idea of buying Siush and Refresh. So we came up with TMB being the recently purchased player into the lineup. And since I knew that he has been mentioned from many players of HLTV top 20 list as being like the rookie up and coming talent, so I thought that this guy has so much eager to win, so much eager to play. And the interview I take part of course, with him, just proven me and showed me that he was like, I want to play officials. I want to play the game. So I already knew that this guy, like, of course, it's just one of the things we spoke about, like, what is important. And I really have to say it, like, we build this project based on our qualities and values we believe in, and we will be really strict to what do we set for the players. Like, we have tools, resources, like, we'll take care of their mental health care. We want to follow their sleeping schedule. We want them to be active, like sports active, like go to the gym at least like once, twice a week or something. So for some of the players, it may be 180 degrees change in their life. For most of them, I would even say, because I will tell you later why. But yeah, TMB was like, I mean, we are always during the interviews telling the players, it has to be your choice to come to us. We are not going to beg the players. Oh, we need you so much. Like, we'll pay you more than everyone else and stuff like this. No, like, we are explaining the players what are we expecting from them, and it needs to be their decision to be part of this project. Because otherwise, I think it doesn't make sense just to pay the player and like don't get back what we are expecting from them. So it was also similar with TMB. We gave him a time. I know he spoke with his parents. I know he spoke with his friends, and he gave me the decision that he would love to be part of such project. And for now, he's the only player in the lineup because we are in this contracting stage, I would say. We have the players about to sign within a few days, but most of them so far are the rookies and up-and-coming talents. We were kind of LMBT, the former mouse sports coach. He works as a talent hunter for FPL, and he was helping us a lot with bringing up some names. But of course, we had the interview process, and each of the players who are we going to sign has went through the process similar to what I have went through. So first of all, they met Alan and Jonathan. Then it was like some of them didn't know who is the coach, but they wanted to go further. Then there was meeting with me. They were fulfilling this riser test, like psychological test. They had the meeting with psychologists. And what is important is we have this 5 people coaching team, and everyone has like equal rights to develop the players, and we work on different areas. So even if we agree to sign the player, but our psychologist said, oh, guys, red flag. This guy is a danger for the team. He may break it sooner or later, and we need to be aware of such situation. That's why, I mean, we knew how should we be picking the players. And I think, so far it's going pretty well. We have a couple of names I cannot reveal, obviously, because we haven't signed them yet. But it's more than 5 players, I can tell you.
Okay.
Did you have any of these situations where like some of the supporting staff was like, okay, red flag, don't, like, you talk to someone and they said like, okay, this player isn't going to work because of reasons outside of like you and Musambani, right? Who are CS related, like CS focused.
Yeah, actually there was a situation like this. And the funny fact is like this guy was so impressed by the fact that we are going this direction. He was really amazed that it's me who's coaching the team and like saying a lot of good things. But considering that when you're sitting in front of 3 guys, usually you just say yes to everything. Then when you have your time to think over and how much this team can change my life, and maybe for some time I will be uncomfortable. And some of them doubted maybe when we stopped talking. But thankfully, it was the person who had this red flag in the test. But I will be honest. I wanted this guy because I'm not afraid of even having such person in a team, because I think like I have some experience as well. I know how to deal with the players, especially these young players. And I think that because we never know under what circumstances and who was coaching the player before. I mean, what exactly type of the person the coach was. So I think I have the skills and resources to make this player, make this player not only better player, but also better person. And I kind of regret that he didn't join, because it would be also challenging for me to try out this way.
You want a challenge?
Yeah.
All right. Striker, yeah, you got any follow-ups here?
I mean, you were talking about like the whole setup behind the team, of the coaching stuff and stuff like that. I imagine I just wanted to talk about where the responsibility is. Like, I don't want to say who to blame for it, who to blame, like if things go wrong, but in general, who's like the top guy responsible? Is it Regin as like the GM? Is he like on top, and then you're the next one in line, and then the performance team is somewhere like under you, or what's the hierarchy essentially?
I can take responsibility. I'm here to I'm the head coach of the team, so it's all on me. Like I can whatever I say, I'm the final voice, I would say.
Okay.
So if I say I want somebody or I want something, I think I can get it. But of course, I'm not like this type of the person who's like
a dictator.
Yeah, dictator. I always speak to everyone, and it opens my eyes. I can actually tell you like how I always explain it. Like where did it come from? Like when back in the days we're still playing with Pasha. I mean, I was coaching Pasha, and we were traveling all over the world. I think I think we made more. We were walking more than let's say Device was doing cardio on his treadmill or something. It was like hundreds of kilometers we were walking through. And the fun fact is like when we talk with Pasha, like we are good friends, we understand each other very well. But when it's 1v1, when I say something, even if he agrees with me, he will try to look for something what can make me angry and be counter argument to what I say. And then it's my turn, and we kind of always counter argue. But thanks to this, we have found a lot of cool ideas, a lot of cool stuff to implement even in our lives in game as well. And this is what I do with the people as well, also with the players. Like I ask them the questions, they tell me something, I counter argue them, and I force them to think as well. And then we have this wider perspective every single time. And this is how I make decisions in the team as well. Like I ask people, like, what do they think? I share my vision, and either they accept it, then I know it's kind of cool. But if they counter argue me, I look for something else as well, and then I just give the statement.
All right. So a bit of conflict resolution having to be in there as well. Let's focus in a bit on the status of the roster, right? You said that TMB is there, and you went through all the interview process with him, and then you were mentioning about farming and looking for these up and coming talents, right? But you mentioned before as well that it's not just going to be a roster with 5 players, right? I think you were alluding to the fact there's going to be more now. We've recently seen a lot of international squads popping up. Let's use Cloud9 as an example. They've signed a roster. And they have only 5 players at the moment. Now, in your project, are you going to have like a bit more of an open door? Like if players don't work out after a couple of months or results aren't working, you're going to like continuously change players? Is this going to be like a 6-7 man project? What is that kind of looking like?
It's basically, I think so far it's well analyzed. I came up with few ideas, especially in terms of what you say that players will be bored or like don't want to compete against each other. I found out something like development bonus, and it's like part of monthly salary, but also annual salary, which is like pretty heavy, like a bonus for 50% of it comes out from, let's say the player wants to have a goal of like going to gym, maybe eating better, and maybe like losing some weight. So if he fulfills his goals, he's going to get half of this development bonus, annual bonus. And let's say there is like another 50%, which is set by our performance team of what this guy needs to improve on to get this bonus. And this is kind of the thing which kind of it doesn't force, like it's required from the player to work like every single month continuously. He needs to develop, he needs to improve, because otherwise, it's like a corporate bonus as well, like the similar to corporate bonus. Like if you do your job well, you're gonna get extra. And this is what I think I implemented partially as well. But regarding the lineup, everyone so far was thinking about the 6th player, right? And I was like sitting and thinking, because this having 6 player, there was many doubts. Or like, you cannot replace in-game leader, right? You cannot replace the sniper, or only if there is a second opener. And even if you replace one of 3 rifles, you either have to be the lurk, either hard lurk, or this one of entry guy, one of the two entries, right? So I came up with idea. Like, I mean, it wasn't like right away, but when we started interviewing the players, I thought like that I would love to have in-game leader who's experienced player, even tier 1, but this is the only one I think it's worth investing. We don't want to like buy out, like since we invested into coaching, we don't want to go and buy out the players, probably because we just prefer to get the rookies and just develop them in short amount of time. But we are willing to have experienced tier 1 player. And I think this guy shouldn't be replaceable because he's the role model for everyone. This is like, I mean, they can see experience in myself, right? But I'm not in the server with them. But on the server, there needs to be someone who they can look up to. They can follow his calls, like they can listen to him. And they maybe even mechanically they will be better than him, but he has so much experience that he can teach the players, right? And regarding this remaining 6, what I think is smart as well is bringing up 2 oppers. And I think it's something innovative in CSGO, but I want them to kind of, in comparison to football, like you have goalkeepers, 2 goalkeepers, and one of them is most likely playing league games and one other cup games, right? And I think it's pretty smart to have 2 oppers, even with different playstyle, where one of them is really aggressive and one is more of a passive opper. And like when I go deeper, it's like, first of all, I would like, let's say we play 4 prags a day. We're gonna have like one of them playing first match and third match, and second guy will play second and fourth. And during this first 2 prags, I will be having my assistant Musambani, which was an opper for all his life. He will be watching them in game, but during this third and fourth map, he will be working with them individually. And like if they record, once he's not on the server for this fourth prag, I know it may sound complicated, but it's all planned. So if he won't be on the server, player is just forced to record the demo, and they are going to watch the demo next day once they are on this theory session, individual theory session. So I want Musambani to focus on the oppers mainly. And there is 2 different type of the oppers. And why did I came up with this idea is because I think the meta for the oppers is kind of set already. Like you obviously want him to make an entry frag somewhere if it's possible, make this aggressive pick, or not like super aggressive, but just make an opening, right? It gives you almost 80% of the chances to win the round once he killed the first guy and he remain alive, stay alive. So yeah, like this is the part of the oppers. And also, like once we started to talk with the riflers, all of them, it's actually funny that out of 4, 3 of them prefer to be an entry or aggressive lurk, which creates space and stuff like this. So I came with an idea, like what if out of these 3 spots we have, if we use 4 players for that, so they can work like it can work like a circle. One of them will skip only 1 prag a day. I mean, each of them only 1 prag a day, but they have guaranteed to be played 3 prags every single day. And then they can develop because they will not be playing only one role. And I want them to be versatile in every single possible aspect of the game. But then, like me watching the game, I can see them performing best in some specific positions, specific rounds, like reactions as well. And in my opinion, it's really good to have like 4 rifles and fulfill the 3 slots, and 2 oppers to fight for their spots as well. Yeah, and even maybe dependent on the map as well.
It sounds like you've put an awful lot of time into thinking about just all these different concepts on the way that you want to approach things. Right now, I think the influences you have for that are over your more recent coaching experiences, and we'll jump into that soon. But are you here trying to move in that direction? We've seen a lot of teams go now. I think Astralis and Vitality are the main 2 that we talk about, where the coaches or the staff are the focal point, and the players coming through, they're able to put not anybody, because I think we know Astralis and Vitality have some very seasoned players there, right? But more so having it so that the coaching staff is in full control of this. Because if you're saying you want to sign a lot of rookies and you have something that sounds very, very structured, right? Is this plan kind of just to see if all of the Counter-Strike knowledge that you guys have combined can make rookies, or at least newer players, fast track them to the top? Because I guess we need to talk about the goals of Mad Lions. Like, how long do you think it's going to take before you guys get to compete within the top 20? Because this sounds very ambitious. Like, all of this, like, with the growth of these players, sounds like it's a long-term plan.
Yeah, definitely it's long-term project, and we are not like, we don't want to be judged by the results we have in 2021. Definitely, like, the main goal for this year is to build the coaching structure. Like, so far we had a lot of talks, organize a lot of meetings, like build this FAQ and stuff like this. What do we do when something, happens? But as I said, like, we want to build a coaching structure. We want to have the good scouting process, which we are currently going through. And this is what we are doing right now. We believe in this, and this is the path we want to take. Like, this year matters maybe less because of the pandemic we have. We want to try out something new. And I think it's worth to mention that, like, the thing you mentioned, that Vitality, Astralis, Navi at some point as well. I know they have like more, like, coaching staff consists more than only 1 or 2 people, but you're always mentioning only tier, like very top teams, right? They need to have results. They need to have a budget for it as well. But we are trying to do it like in a different way. First, start with the coaching staff and then develop the players. Maybe this is the point. Like, you don't have to reach to the top by playing really good CS to have the budget for bringing in the coaching stuff. But we just started opposite way, and I think it, like, I believe in this project. That's why I'm here, right?
Sure. No, of course. No, I think that this stuff, if this is successful, right, this is continuing to change the tide of how this is going. And I love the bit you mentioned where it's that the players need to buy into this as well. Basically, it's not just here, we throw a big check at you when you rock up in the server and you get some headshots. This is an actual job, and this direction that we're going in here, because we will get into talking about the Envy stuff. I'm sure we have a lot of questions about that there, but is the reason that you want to go in this direction because you've had problems with players maybe controlling rosters in the past, and then this way it's all just Kuben and the staff over there at Mad Lions who are in control? There's not going to be any player holding you guys at your mercy or anything like that?
First of all, I'm not type of the person who wants to be in the flashlights, and probably, like, this is the biggest thing for me, like in my CS community life, that I'm in here in this HLTV Confirmed. I always prefer to stay in the shadow and just do my work. And if we make a success with this project, I don't want to be the one mentioned, but I want, like, Jake, Martina, Alan, Jonathan, and I to be mentioned, like, all together. Like, we work as a team. And I want everyone else to be sure that it's us, not only me. Yeah. So that's the first thing. And second, I don't remember the question.
This is a nice dodge. I feel like this is like casually forgetting that part.
Well, do we want to get into that, right? Because I don't know how much you want to talk about this stuff, and I think this is.
You mean the pastimes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. I think there is nothing to hide. Like, being honest, like I said, like, I want to build a team based on the values we have. And I'm really honest. Like, I know that, like, during our lives, it's the same with tattoos, right? Like, when you make some, like, tattoo on your body, why you should be ashamed of that in the future? Like, you had this period of your life when you just thought that this is the right choice to make tattoo in this place at this time, and you shouldn't be ashamed of it having like 40 years old or something. And it's the same about the past. Like, when I joined VP in 2015, I knew that I would be more like a 6th player, just giving ideas, but I know that it transitioned into something different years later, like 2-3 years later. But I still had I was friend of the players because I played with 3 of them in the past. But I also was working for an organization. I was like, they were, I don't know how to say, like, they were expecting the results from me and that I'm responsible. But I told them, if I need to be responsible, I need to have the power to make changes in the team as well, because I felt that this was the right time to make 2 changes in the lineup, but I wasn't allowed to do so. And if you take the extreme ownership of yourself, you need to know that you have the power to make these decisions within the team as well. So yeah, like every next episode, because I split like VP into like the gold lineup, like VP V2 when Mihu joined and Snatch later this year, and VP V3 when there is only Snatch left in 2019, right? So yeah, with this VP V1, I didn't have that much. I mean, there was also players having so much to say. I would say like that.
Okay. Well, we're gonna keep this one going, and I want to dive into some of this Envy stuff now, just to catch everybody up to speed who maybe not too familiar with what happened. This was I have the link here, Lucas. Bring this one up for everyone at home. This was when there was still an American-based team. Moose and Ryan were released. You were added as the head coach. Legia went from being the coach to a player, and when you joined, it was Nifty, Mihu, Calix, Legia, and then you joined the team, right? And we obviously know how that one's ended up since. Envy no longer support Counter-Strike. That all happened at the start of this year. And there was a lot of focus on Nifty, like how much control was Nifty given to the team by Hastro and stuff. Was this another one of these situations where you weren't given enough control of the roster, or was it a situation where you've come on into and it's just a mess since you got there?
I mean, in the beginning, I think because everyone knows that Mihu was suggesting Mike that I should become a coach of the team, and he was not hiding it away from the players, that he was just strict to them and very loud about it, that someone who can make the structure needs to come into the team. So it wasn't like he fixed me my job, because I had like a couple of talks with Mike as well. And he just felt like from talking to me that I can be the leader he wants to have in the team as well. So he brought me in on the board. But unfortunately, like we in Envy, we couldn't spend any money like during the season. So it was about to like, and it was kind of obviously said in my announcement when I joined the team that this couple of months is kind of a test for a team, and 2021 we're gonna invest in some players, fill up the squad with what I think is needed. But we all know how it went. Like even in November, I was promised that everything is going the right way, but unfortunately it fell apart. But everything happens for a reason. Well, I'm here now, and I'm just looking forward for this project. Like I have the coaching stuff which I always wanted to, and yeah.
Okay, so you're actually getting what you need. Yeah, Prof, jump in.
About Envy, because this is what most people were kind of mystified by. Like, why did you not play any other games? Like you played Flashpoint and that was it. I don't know if you played maybe one qualifier aside from that.
Yeah, I think we haven't even played any. I'll tell you why. First of all, Flashpoint was about to be played, I think, 2 or 3 weeks ahead of the time it's actually started. And our plan was to play in Flashpoint and play in the qualifier. I mean, any online cup before, just to get the confidence. I didn't want players to jump into very big league right away. But suddenly, maybe I was just informed too late. It just have come up with like announcement that we have to play like in 2 weeks or something like this. And then I just decided like it doesn't make sense for us to play any of the cups. And excuse me, I also think, and I also thought that it's really smart to firstly build the structure, and this is the most important tournament for us. We shouldn't even like, knowing that we are kind of new team, no one knew what to expect from us. It's still better to jump into something big right away and to surprise everybody. Like I think maybe the results are not showing. I mean, we haven't won so many games, but I think we were really competitive against all the teams we played against. Even though like I think I hope Nicola will not be mad on me, but like considering that he wasn't playing for 2 years before and he just jumped into player role from coaching right away, I think we did really good with him being just former coach, not former player, not being active for so many years. And yeah, I think we like I can be judged by this, but I think we really did great, and we had a lot of fun playing together. But unfortunately, it just fell apart.
Okay, Striker, you got anything on this one?
No, not particularly. I think no, never mind. Just
No?
go ahead.
All right, you good, Prof?
Yeah.
All right, what we'll do is we're going to have some like questions that we'll get towards the end of the show for Cuban. But what we're going to do, guys, we're going to jump into the recent news and keep the show going. So Lucas, roll the bumper, and we'll be back in a second.
The Xtrfy M42 RGB, what a fun mouse with 5 colorways, lightweight frame at just 59 grams with the swappable backplate to suit your grip style, the sensor, the easy core, the smooth skates, and driverless control for RGB and DPI is why you should check out the M42 RGB down below.
Headshot, nice! Fist bumps go to the teammates.
I wanna hear your go, go, go. I wanna see you falling fast. Win the round. Win the game.
Very much.
All right, we are back. Thank you for staying with us. I'm going to jump straight into the recent news here now. One of the ones hot off the presses was just the other day before Group B kicked off for Vitality. Nivera and Vitality kind of parted ways. Nivera stepped down from the roster. There's a whole little, not a twit longer. They actually, created a graphic where they were talking about the whole situation. We've got the major scenario where you're going to be penalized if you're rotating players in and out. We've obviously known this 6-man experiment has been tried by a couple teams up until this date, but Vitality was the one to make it the most successful. Personally, I like some of the stuff they were doing on Inferno when Nivera was subbed in for one of their star players like Shocks, but all in all, that's fallen apart. That's no longer the case. Nivera is now, I believe, benched, so it will be interesting to see where he ends up on this. Now, if we jump straight in here, and I'll start with you, Prof, this comes as a surprise?
Yes and no. I guess like it's obviously a trend that teams have been on, just like dropping their 6th member because of the Valve announcement. I'll put that under quotation marks because I feel like that's kind of funny to even consider something like.
We don't even know when the major is, right? Well, we do,
but also like people are considering this as a surprise. Like
Yeah.
for me, the changes, I mean, we said it already, I think, on the show, but the changes that Valve made were in that direction, a small change in that direction, like to
Accommodate.
6-man rosters, right? Not a big one, but did anyone really expect that Valve would just allow people to swap players between maps at the major, and then like Bubsky playing 2 maps on the major, and he's going to be lifting the trophy and being like a major winner, the same as Pasha is a major winner, and Forrest and whoever, I just don't see there's that's one big change that we would need to adapt to. Just that fact that someone could be a major winner with 3 maps played. Maybe that's fair, maybe it's not fair. It happens in real sports, but we don't really consider that a thing in esports and CS especially. And then the whole thing about just like Valve doesn't like that shit. Like they want 5 players and maybe a coach to do something, and now they allow
Not really.
yeah, but like we're like you're allowed to exist for now, and then we'll allow a substitution. Now they allow the substitution, so now actually having a 6th player,
better now, right?
It's better because you can have him, and then if anything happens, he can come in, he can be there for the major. You don't have to use your coach, you don't have to use Zonic, you can use Bubsky for all of the remaining matches. It makes sense. Yeah, you'd have to adapt from what you have now and what they did in the last couple of months of 2020, but it could work. It could be adapted to that, right? And until that, you continue with the way you've been playing, right? So yeah, it's confusing for me.
It is surprising that they come out and cite that like Valve are just going to change when only a handful and only the elite teams are doing this, really, at least on a successful level. So for them to think it's just going to change because a few of them are doing it, maybe that's just an easy way out of this whole situation. Now, Cuban, I want to pivot to you here with this Nivera 6-man experiment that Vitality did pull off successfully because they won an event with it. Is that something that you saw and went, oh, this can work? Or is this something that you already wanted to do? Like, what did you take away from what Vitality achieved with a 6-man?
I always try to look for its pros, not like cons. So in my opinion, like, even though, like, I don't know, should we take it like a failure or something, but in my opinion, it was just more of a Nivera decision to step down, not like a team, in my opinion.
Okay.
But it's still, if you look for pros of the situation, like, he has improved. They have developed him. Like, they have really good coaching staff behind. I'm not sure if he's over 20. I doubt it. So in my opinion, they can still put him on the bench, and I'm pretty sure some of really good teams can come and ask for a buyout. And like, in such a short time, they have developed the young player, and probably I just applied it to like the vision I see, the new team coming up as well. But this is because Vitality has invested a lot of money into coaching as well. I know they have an assistant psychologist, probably physiotherapist as well. And if I look at the situation from that perspective, I see it as a like good outcome of having the 6th player as well. And like, on the other hand, Major isn't the only tournament which is happening, right? It's not like the international in Dota. If this would be happening, like this such environment in CS community, then it could have been a problem, right? Because everyone to play the biggest event. But right now we had a lot of leagues with a lot of good prize money, a lot of place for players development. And I think it's like, what's like, because when it comes to our team, let's say if we're going to participate at Major with this 7-man roster, I will just have to pick 5 players. But it doesn't mean like they are worse than the others, because they can play in different type of tournaments as well. Like, the others will just skip the other tournaments.
Sure.
And yeah, so this is my perspective on this.
Yeah, a lot of accommodations have been made, especially by Blast, who are doing those substitutions, or at least had the first substitutions in the history of Counter-Strike, I believe. And then ESL seem to be doing it. We didn't get to see what many of the other TOs are doing with it at the moment. I think DreamHack would have been the same as ESL. But while we stay on just the topic here with Vitality Striker, do you think that Nivera is going to find a home quickly here? Is it going to be one of these situations where he gets stuck on the bench? Do you think teams are going to be able to afford him? What happens to Nivera from here?
Definitely, that's something that I was definitely worried about when I saw that he was getting benched, because who knows what the situation is at the moment, what the actual plan was when they even first signed him. If he knew that it would only last until, you know, the next series of RMR events, because think about the timings. Like, he literally started doing this after the last RMR event, after VMAC Open Fall, and now that like the new RMR series of RMR tournaments are going to start, Vitality just cutting the project and just going back to a 5-man roster, because that's what Vitality do. Like, this is pretty consistent with their behavior so far, that they just think ahead of time and they don't want to get into a position where they get to their RMR event and they're used to having Nivera play Dust 2, having Nivera play Inferno, Vertigo, whatever else he was playing, Nuke, I think, at one point even, and not be able to do that because like they can actually swap players in the meantime. So I think from Vitality it just made a lot of sense. It just depends on whether that was the plan in the first place or if they just kind of like evolved to this point. Because I imagine that if it was the plan from the first place, he probably just got like a 6-month contract that's ending maybe in like a month or two, and he's going to be free to go, right? But if it isn't, if they kind of like wanted to have him long term just to see if maybe he's going to be a full-time member down the line, maybe not. We'll see what happens. Then he could definitely get stuck behind a buyout just because he has the stamp, right? We saw what happened with ESSAA and Astralis. He probably wouldn't have been as expensive if he didn't get like the Astralis stamp, you know, of approval, and if he didn't do so well when he was playing with them.
Yeah, similar type of player, right? Very versatile, can AWP, can rifle, can do it all. Now, that leads me to my next question. And Kuben, I want to bounce back with you. Were you surprised that it was Nivera who went and maybe they weren't, you know, putting Masuda on the bench? Or does this change make the most sense for you? Because I heard you say that you felt it was more from Nivera's decision.
I haven't been following like them so closely. Like, I know that he has been playing in some maps. Like, the most surprising for me was like that he took over AWP role on Inferno and Vitality. Like, watching them during Katowice was kind of surprising for me. But like we can of course assume that like we cannot we are not inside the team, so we never know like what type of a person he is actually. Like, does he fit into their structure?
Sure.
Maybe even if he performed good, like there are other qualities of the player which are really important. Maybe like he has really good communication. Maybe he rages too much. Maybe he doesn't want to develop. Like, I can't say. Like, I can just only predict like what was happening. In my opinion, they just wanted him to play less than he kind of expected, and that's why he feels that he's at the age, and he's like maybe current prime time, like that he's willing to play in better team. I mean, better constantly playing in really good team, I would say.
Sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can see that. What do you think, Prof?
It's also like it's hard to kind of fit him in. Like, who do you constantly move out of the team? Like, if you want to move out Misuta, like, okay, but he's not going to be playing Misuta's role on every map, not on most maps, I feel like. So then you have to think about like Shocks or RPK. You're not moving Apex, you're not moving ZywOo, where to those two were rather the questions. And then I was reading an interview with their coach recently, who he praised like Shocks' creativity in the game, like that is needed for Apex to call well, is like Shocks and his like random ideas, mid-round calls and stuff like that, and that fits in well. And then also RPK is also a type of a like anchory player that doesn't have a lot of freedom. So if you put Nivera at that role, that also doesn't really work. So I think that was their kind of issue. Like for me, he could only replace really Shocks on the team long term.
Okay.
Like if I look at the type of the player that he is, and you don't want to do that.
Yeah, this is the place when it comes to counter argument, but you just open my eyes wider. Like, this was the thing I was thinking about. Like, every time I speak, like even the interviews we have taken with the players, very often I need to explain them that in-game leading in tier 1 players and just players being self-sufficient is different thing than in tier 3 and tier 4 teams, where in these lower tier teams, what do players expect from in-game leader is micromanaging in every single aspect. And in tier 1 teams, usually the players have to be self-sufficient enough to make decisions on their own. And like, as you said perfectly, Prof, about Shocks, like he's making so much space for Apex. So he either has his like Freeman attacking core, which is like Misuta, RPK, and very often ZywOo, or if it's not ZywOo, it's Shocks going with them or Apex. But Shocks usually like on Nuke, he's like one of the best players outside, in my opinion. Like, he takes so much space, he can do it on his own, and he gives so much information for Apex just to lead the game. And if Nivera, I mean, I kind of understand the way of thinking, because like what I want to do in our team, if let's say if we have like 2 experienced players and 3 rookies, I want the wheel to roll over and the youngsters becoming core of the team, and then we are bringing another youngsters. And in my opinion, what Vitality tried to do is maybe replace Shoxy by having Nivera, but it didn't work out because Shox brings like his former in-game leader as well, and he brings so much efficiency into their gameplay, so much information, and like at this level, it's really needed at this point. That's why maybe they made this decision.
Sure. Yeah. They did a lot last year, Vitality, right? We spoke about obviously changing game leader with Apex coming and doing it, rookies into the team, and now pivoting back again. But let's keep
one thing to just mention about Vitality. Like, we also always talk about teams, especially when teams like fail. It's easy to find ways to like justify why they failed. Like, this happened, then we couldn't get this player, then this player had to leave and stuff like that. When you think about Vitality, like the shit that they went through for the last year almost, like even picking up Misuta, from what I want to know, that wasn't their, like, they wanted to pick him up as like a 6th player or like a development player or something like that, someone they can contract, and then maybe 6 months, a year from then, right? They wanted to bring him in. He had to go straight into the first squad. Started off like with the worst match you could ever have, right?
Yeah.
Had like a 0-17 or something like that.
Dust 2, I think it was.
Or was it Dust 2?
Yeah, he was playing B on Dust 2, yeah.
Yeah. So he's still like literally like, I don't know, scarred from Dust 2. Still doesn't really do well on that map.
Closes his eyes, sees it at night.
Then like the Apex Alex situation, then Apex stepping down. Like, they had a lot of shit happening to them, and they still managed to be like super consistent and be like one of the best teams of last year. So I just wanted to give props to that. Like that is I don't know, impressive.
Yeah, they did a lot with a lot of shit thrown at them. So let's talk more about this 6-man situation, right? Because that's how we're going to piggyback off this. Now, when was the last time we even saw Bubsky play a game for Astralis, right? Because last year we already knew that AGO were doing 6-man rosters before anyone else was thinking about it. But we had Astralis
10-man rosters.
Yeah, we had Astralis have 333 different Danish players come through, either old ones, new ones, sell them, turn them over, whatever, not use them. And now they have Bubsky still as the 6-man, but we don't seem to be seeing too much out of him. Instead of using on Nuke now, they just changed Mega's position with Zipax. We know that Na'Vi are still using Bit on Inferno. Yep, and we've moved away from this situation here with Nivera. So where do we stand with the 6-man striker? I know that we've heard from Kuben saying that they're looking at a 6-man, but in terms of if these big names aren't using it and are moving away from it, do we think it's going to be on hold for a while? Do we think it's going to come back with a vengeance? What do we think?
I think it's just going to be used differently. I feel like you could. It's definitely not going to be in the way that we've seen it so far with Vitality, Na'Vi, or Astralis, where it's just one map or something. Maybe it's just going to go back to the way that we kind of expected it to happen at first, where a certain set of 5 players will play one tournament, right? And nobody comes in or out. It's just going to be the next tournament where maybe 2 players swap and they test it out that way and stuff like that. I could see that happening, where you just swap based on tournaments and not based on matches, just because of this Valve rule that basically prevents you from doing mid series swaps. Because like when you get to the majors, like I said before, like you're just gonna struggle if you've been used to playing with different players on different maps.
Sure.
So I think that's where the 6-man projects are going to go from now.
What do you guys think about this take? It feels like we've gone full circle, because we all remember like the North Academy team and all those Academy teams a couple years ago, right? Then Valve wagged their finger and there was conflicts of interest and fucking this, that, and everything else. And then Academy teams disappeared. And then now we went through the coaching stuff, and then we went through the 6-man stuff more recently. And now Academy teams seem to be back in a big way, right? Na'Vi had 2, they amalgamated them to 1. We got the Astralis, what are they called? Talent, the Astralis Talent, I think they're called. NIP Youngsters or Young Ninjas, one of the two. Sorry, I apologize for the name wrong.
Young Ninjas, yeah.
We had Gambit Youngsters, who are now the main squad, but we all understand the concept of that. It feels to me like now these teams, and ZTR, one who we're going to talk about in the future, might be able to fill some of those things you were just talking about, Striker, right? In the sense that if they get a big coaching staff, which is what Kuben's trying to do with his crew. I know that is it Amy?
Amy, yeah.
Yes.
Ukrainian guy.
Yeah, he's doing the academy stuff for the Na'Vi Junior or whatever they're called squad, right? And he's going to be, knowing what Blade wants, knowing what they're all going to be in communication so that they are bringing players up for their main squad. So, Kuben, with this in mind, what I've just mentioned here, do you think that's a direction we're going to see more of that might allow for 6, like the Bit situation is the perfect one in this explanation? Do you think there's going to be more of that type of stuff?
Is Bit allowed to play with his Na'Vi junior team, when he's not playing actively in Navi's games?
That's a good question.
He has been playing with
I think
the junior team as well. Yeah.
So, in my opinion, it kind of overlaps with what is happening in real sports, right? You have this academy of teams as well, and the players, once they are being invited by their head coach to main team, they are just playing the games with them, right? But they are still allowed to participate in the games of lower tier and just younger generation players. I really like this idea, because it kind of build up the whole market value as well, in my opinion. You have you build up, you invest into coaching, but not to the main team, but the younger team, like you said about Ami and Blade. Blade was, before, he was looking for these rookies, up and coming talents into Gambit Youngsters. So he's part of their success as well. Now he's the coach of the main team, but he has his, not assistant, but someone who's below him, and he's trying to develop the rookies to be ready to replace the
main
old
players.
Old players,
the veterans,
veterans, dinosaurs. From the starting lineup. I really like the idea. I think this is the way it should go.
Yeah, it's kind of like they're reverse engineering that, right? Because these teams are established, and now it's oh shit. I guess the Na'Vi one is still the best example, because they get such a hard time getting the up and coming players for buyouts or whatever reason, that it's easier just to curate your own talent. And now that the best teams are doing that, you guys are obviously doing it from the ground up with Mad Lions. I guess we'll see more of that. Prof, you got anything on the 6-man roster, or we beat that horse to bloody death?
Yeah, I think we more or less did. I think it's just to mention, Payne also said that their sixth man was not going to be playing any official matches anymore.
Who?
I thought you were posting on the HLTV forums where
Payne?
you actually like one. Payne,
Oh,
yeah, the Brazilian
the
team that is
Brazilian
now
team. Yeah.
is now in the top 30. Now you're angering like half of Sao Paulo who are in lockdown, so they have nothing else to do but to send you.
I'm not
angry
trying
messages.
to. It's just there are so many Brazilian teams at the moment that we have to keep track of. You mentioned Payne. Of course, they're going to be like, there's so many of them. Bloody, we got Godsend, MIBR, Team One, Furia.
They just beat Liquid, man.
Yeah. Cool, guys.
That's also like kind of like Fallen playing from Europe and all that shit.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, obviously,
good
there's also some
job, but
caveats
let's
to
not
that.
get too excited about this, okay?
Yeah, we'll put that one on hold. Now, as we move this one forward, some news came out today about 5 hours ago or so. Lucas, I'm going to throw this one, whack the link up for everybody playing at home. If you haven't been following the news, then you wouldn't have known that OG made some roster changes recently. They benched MBK and they brought in Nico from Heroic, who was recently let go of or benched in Heroic. Nico stood in for them during EPO, where OG didn't manage to get across the line and qualify within the top three. It had some close games. And some people in the community were curious as to why it was MBK that got replaced and not ISSAA. Well, it turns out ISSAA is being replaced as well. He's been benched. And it's strange to me here, Prof, that we started with one change, played Pro League, and now they're looking for a second. Does that mean that OG are more aggressively trying to overhaul this roster? Well, obviously it does. But why I phrased that so badly? But
yeah, I mean, like why the break, right?
Yeah,
why the wait? What's going on there?
Yeah, that's what I'm leading to. Why do you think they waited for Pro League to play before swapping out two players?
I mean, there could also be a simple reason of that they just didn't have like another player in their sight, right?
It's got Bora, you know, like, why not?
I mean, yeah, I guess you could always like find some sort of a stand-in, but why not just play with a guy that you actually knows how to play with the team, right? If you don't actually have somebody lined up as a replacement already, so it just could just be that they had, you know, Nico lined up as a stand-in or whatever, like a potential permanent signing down the line, and they wanted to try him out, but they didn't have a second guy who could come in for ISSAA already, so they just had ISSAA play, you know, and bench him afterwards. Now that maybe they're having somebody else in mind, right? So it could just be something as simple as that. But the other explanation could just be that something changed, right? Something about EPL just made them think, okay, one change might not have been enough. I feel like that's a little bit far-fetched to me, just because they still played with a stand-in. They didn't really have that much time to play with him and stuff like that. So did you really learn something new about ISSAA that you've just been playing with for like 15 months? I don't really think so. So I think it's just like that they just didn't have a player to replace him with earlier.
Maybe it was one of these situations where they thought maybe they could qualify top three if they just made one change and then they could replace him after they qualified, because their group was the first group, right? So they would have had a couple of weeks before the playoffs to play with somebody. Now they have about a month until the showdown for Blast Premier Spring, where we have Astralis, Liquid, obviously Vitality and their big name. It's going to be a very, very, very tough time. Cuban, when you see OG making roster changes, do you think this is what's needed if they want to be a top 5 team?
Yeah, definitely. I think like if the team is not like, I presume their goal was just to become this either top 5, top 3 team. Like I know AlexB is like the leader who wants to like be the best. He was almost, I mean, you know, ENCE, they were in the top for a second, I think. But once you lick the top, you want to come back as soon as possible, right? So considering they haven't won any events, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they haven't reached the finals too often. They have to make some changes, and like I think like I don't know Nathan Schmidt and BK too much, but I think he's type of the guy who's really strict to his perspective onto the game, and I think he could have wanted to be too much involved into the gameplay they have, and I doubt AlexB wanted to let him do too much. Maybe this is why the change have came up. Regarding the lineup for a Pro League, in my opinion, it was just the limitation of the players you may have as a replacement. So they rather prefer to replace NBK because I just assuming that maybe he just created some bad mood between the players or something. And probably like before the Pro League started, they have to sign up with their lineup like 2 weeks before or something. And this is probably the reason they have their limitation with the players they could use as well.
Okay. Yeah, that's curious, right? Prof, you got anything here?
Yeah, there was an interview with NBK today in French. I can't understand it, but there was a couple of like bullet points from Nel. He said NBK about ISSAA being benched. It's kind of mutual. That's why it happened so fast after NBK leaving. Same problem as with him. He's saying things differently than the others.
Okay.
Like he has a different but that's like a very placeholder response. So I don't really buy that too much.
Regarding ISSAA, I think the main reason could have been his connection issues, because he plays it from like Jordan, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
So considering in what time we are, like that we are not playing LANs, it's only online, either qualifiers or final events. I think for this time, like they could have benched him, but I think it's better for him to play even in the other team and just compete, just not to go off the competition, right? For a couple of months. And definitely it will be better to OG to compete with a player with better connection and someone who lives in Europe and can even travel to bootcamp, because for many teams, bootcamps are essentially the best way of improvement. And in the short amount of time, you can make like monthly work during 1 week bootcamp as well.
I mean, that is completely logical. And when we had Alexi B, he did say that like ISSAA can't even travel to a boot camp. Doesn't matter like wherever they want to do it, at least in Portugal, where they have like a boot camp facility. Although Portugal has shit internet as well, so that's a stupid place to have a boot camp facility to start.
Place,
anyway.
though.
It's super nice.
Yeah,
I've never been there, but looks like fucking amazing. Like that's if I wasn't in Croatia, that's the place I'd go to live. That's
Can
like
work on your tan.
Mad Lions has one in Madrid as well.
So
I
was worried about the quality of connection they have, but it's 1 gigabyte as far as I know. Yeah, it's pretty good right now.
Yeah, I know that we've seen on the cams before. I think when they've been at that space when they're Peacemaker and stuff we're coaching in the past. Now, I want to bring up this free agent list, Lucas. I linked you that one. If you could bring this up, I'll put it in TeamSpeak if you boys want to have a look at it yourself. This is the one I tweeted about a little bit earlier, and I got some replies. And if you want to go find this guy's Twitter, it's either J Alex or Jalix CSGO, J Alex CSGO. And he has a list that he seems to update quite frequently. Got himself a bit of a niche here to do with free agents and bench players. Now we're talking about OG without ISSAA. We know a lot of players are on the market, or a lot of players are bench right now. It is actually quite a good time to be looking for semi-experienced, decent players, right? I think that's probably a good way to brand a lot of these names. So as we just take a look down this list here, I'll read through them for our audio-only listeners. We've got like AZ, Anakas, we've got Borup, Body, Bialy, Cajun, Calix, Chris J, Emmy, Esperanto, Facecrack, Fur, Flusher, Gade. I don't know who. Okay. Cool. Guardian, Hair, Idis Balance, Yuki, Kenny, Kirby, Christu, Lucky, Mayan, Mihu, Motum, MSL, Natasafix, MBK, Nifty, Nivera, Olafo, Rigon, Statics, Sergey. We won't count Sergey's in the army putting shovels in front of his dick. Thomas, Watford, Exist, and Exipower. Jesus Christ, that's like I'm reading off a massive
We
laundry
can make
list.
a tournament for them and just mix the teams up.
Yeah, and whoever comes out the top will give him a bloody contract, because there are so many names in here, right? We've been smashing through players, and it feels like a lot of players who are getting benched at this point are going to have a hard time getting back on a team. So let's go with you here, Striker. Out of those names I was just reading off, any jumping out as you as a natural fit or a fit that could go to OG and make them better immediately?
I mean, one that definitely stood out to me was Mihu.
Okay.
Just because he's actually a free agent, he's free to join anybody, so they don't even have to pay for him. A lot of these other names that are kind of like that could be in the discussion. Somebody like Thur, like some of these more experienced players. Same with Calix, obviously. Like he also is in the same situation, already out of Envy. So those are like the two main names that I thought of. I think because we kind of expect Flusha not to be just to be building this new team, right? And he's probably not the kind of a player that OG would want anyway. So yeah, those are probably the biggest.
What do you think, Prof? Any names here leaping off the page here? Because to me, it feels like there are obviously some good names on here, but the ones that I think would make sense maybe are the ones who are under contract, because some of these are benched, right?
But the problem is if they want to get Nico, and we presume like Nico played pretty well, so they're gonna get him. He's someone they need to buy out. Probably not gonna be super expensive, not gonna be super cheap either. So that's a buyout they need to pay. So maybe the other player they'll be looking to get someone that is not. I think from these players, I agree that Mihu kind of stands out for me.
Someone kind of aggressive, right?
Yeah, but because like for me, it's like Mihu or Bubsky or Twists before when he was still available. Like those are the type of players that I feel like could fit in Issa's role and do well. Just like be an upgrade that makes sense. Then that doesn't rejig the whole team. Right?
Sure.
So these are the players that come to mind for me. And out of these, Mihu is the only one that's a free agent, and is someone that didn't really get an opportunity to ever play in a stable team. And even when he wasn't, and when he was playing in Envy, when he was playing in all of these VP lineups that were semi-broken or whatever, he was always performing pretty well. And obviously, Kuben coached him a lot of times, so we can say, like, what do you think? Is he the guy for OG?
I don't want to judge. Like, I would love to have such player under my wings as well. So I don't want him to go OG. No, but honestly, yeah, like he's really lenient and eligible player. I really think that like wherever he goes, I think he can be really impactful player for any team. Like, and he can fit into every role. I mean, I remember like this infographic about him. Like, I even suggested him to point out what role you want. Like, the others will look like he knows what he wants to do, and like I know he wants it, but he's like sometimes undecisive. He knows about it as well, but I just told him like just spread your willingness, and like everyone else will understand like what are you here for. And probably if they approach him and like he goes through the process of interview process, probably they can take him. But I need to suggest them somebody else as well. Wait. I think Esperanto might be a
There
good
we
pick
go.
as well.
Yeah.
Kierby is a lot. Like there is a lot of Scandinavian people. I know Manto speaks really well English. He's British, right?
Yeah.
Speaks Polish, but he's British. So yeah, like I think they should go more into Scandinavian player, definitely.
All right. Well, looks like Cuba is trying to protect one of his polls right there. Might be trying to swindle him in. Now, look, I think we can sit here and we can speculate with OG for some time, but I feel like we're going to get an announcement in the next couple of weeks, right? I mentioned it's a month until the showdown, so we probably don't have to speculate for too long. Let's keep this one trucking along, and we're going to jump into talking about ESL Pro League. Now, I have the link, Lucas, to the current groups. If you just give me 1 second. I'm organized tonight, everybody. This is unusual. This is very unusual. Lucas, take this one, whack this up for all the viewers at home. And the one we're taking a look at, I'll put it in TeamSpeak for you guys as well, is just the overall, the overview page on HLTV.org to do with ESL Pro League Season 13. Now, we are halfway through Group B. If you missed it, we've concluded Group A. We had Heroic going through in first place, Complexity in second, with FPX coming in third. We'll touch on that, all those names a bit more. And just to catch you up where we are in Group B right now, and we've had half of the matches played. We have 2 more match days kicking off tomorrow morning, or it's lunchtime, 12 o'clock. But there's a few talking points here, because in Group A, we did have a bunch of teams with new rosters, right? We had Renegades in here with their second stint with Alistair, who was there at IEM. We had OG with Nico standing in, and ISSAA getting revamped just after that. So that's all happened very recently. FPX with Sunny instead of Chris J. Complexity back with Poison for another event to see how they're trucking along. And Heroic, obviously, with their 2 new additions, Refresh and Shush from Mad Lions. Now, let's start there. I think we should start with the Heroic topic because they topped the group. Prof, is it surprising to see them quickly just go from looking like they were in a bit of hot water to topping a group like they were in Group A?
I think, yeah, not topping the group, but like they're on a 7 series win streak, right? They won two games in the qualifier for DreamHack,
yeah,
and now won all of the games here. And I'm not gonna say it wasn't a contest, but most of these games it was like pretty comfortable. It seemed like. So considering they just got 2 new players in, it is a bit surprising. Just like a bit. Like, of course, I was predicting them to go through to the playoffs. But,
well, with Complexity and Big there, right?
Yeah. Like I thought it was gonna be like a closer contest, but this is like a blowout for them.
So I don't know how many of the games that you happened to catch, Cuban, with this. Did you see much of Heroic playing?
I haven't actually I was kind of busy lately.
Sure.
I was focusing more on ENCE because Deha was one of the signings I wanted to have in ENVE 2021. But yeah, I'm actually I know I'm switching into the Group B probably.
It's
but
all
yeah,
good.
I know Snappy. I've spoken with him more than a year ago when I was trying to catch up with somebody to build up the team and maybe look for some opportunities. And I remember him telling me how much he wants to have a team which he can finally prove his value, his worth, and seeing his reaction after they've beaten Mousesports recently. I really love. I felt this power in his in his voice when he was kind of telling me what are his expectations, how much he's willing to do it. And I felt so really happy about them winning the games, and also about Deha. I'm actually last couple of months he didn't underperform. I wasn't watching games, just seeing the results. But before he was just so powerful. He have won them many games before.
Yeah, he was looking good still. And I think what I want to do here is jump into that point you were talking about with Snappy, how he was fired up and he was standing, he was yelling, he was looking like he was going to go Super Saiyan type thing. Now, similar to that was Cadian in Group A, and he's been a very vocal leader in this heroic project, right? Because a lot of the players with him are nowhere near as experienced as him. Now, from what I can tell, I don't know Casper on a personal level since I met him a couple years. Well, it's more than a couple years ago now, but it's only those run-ins with him, right, and some general conversations and interviews and stuff online. But he seems to be a kind of figure in the team who's always fired up. He's always in a happy mood. He's very important for the squad. I would say that their mood and their demeanor and how they approach games. Snappy, if he's getting fired up, probably the same for what he's doing for ENCE. Now, my question to you, and a way we can relate this back with what you're looking for. How are you going to manifest that in this new roster with Mad Lions, right? Do you think a figure like that, somebody who does get fired up with that mood, should be a player, or do you reckon that should still be coaching staff stuff? How do you look at those type of personalities?
Yeah. First of all, I think Heroic, when they have won Cologne last year, it was kind of fresh team as well. They couldn't participate in the Flashpoint 1 season, as far as I remember. It was this misunderstanding between orgs, buying them to Fun Plus Phoenix or stuff.
Yep.
And then they were fired up so much that they have won the Cologne event, even though it was online, right? But they have won it. And for half of the year, they somehow disappeared, in my opinion. And now they just needed a change. I hope this is not their honeymoon period. When they have so much power, and probably if I would watch the game, I can just presume there is so much freedom of the players. They can do whatever they want. They listen to IGL. They have a lot of ideas. I don't know how big impact on preparation Hunden has, but I presume it's kind of big. He has so much of game sense and understanding the game current meta probably as well. I'm pretty sure he's helping them a lot. But I want to see them performing at this level longer period of time, definitely.
Sure.
Coming back into your question, I have kind of I don't know, it's a different approach to other coaches, but me as a coach, I want to be a leader of the team and a role model and example for them, because otherwise they will not follow the rules I set. I need to live the rules I set for the team as well. So outside of the game, I want to manage the things. I do manage the things, and I am trying to be the leader of the team. But for me, what is most important in game, it needs to be in-game leader who's the role model for the players. If the players see him not preparing for theory sessions, not watching the games, not analyzing the games, but I mean, he needs to do it on his own and tell the players, guys, I saw we did so many mistakes. I want you to come to the server right now, and I will tell you point out what was wrong, and not only the coach doing that, because otherwise I will become the role model into their eyes, but they know that there is nobody who can lead them in game and nobody that they can believe in this difficult scenarios. So yeah, I'm always making this hierarchy where in game it's in-game leader, then it's a coach who has who's below him, and then there is a players actually there is a second caller, and then someone who steps in when the in-game leader and second caller is that he just takes over the role as well. It's not about who's better and who's worse, but I think having the structure is what matters as well.
Sure. All right. Sorry, I want to ask you this one. With what did you get to catch many of their games?
Correct, you're talking about?
Yeah.
Some of them, yeah.
Okay, so just off of your eye test here, who do you think looked at, and this isn't comparing the two, I know that both of them are there, and I think I'm happy that both are there, but who do you think looked like they were more comfortable in the team from the get-go from these 7 series we've seen? Was it Shush or was it Refresh?
I mean, when I saw the qualifier, I thought it was Shush. Then I felt in Pro League that it might have been Refresh, actually. In the games that I saw, I didn't see them all, so I'm not necessarily sure. But generally, like in the qualifier, they definitely looked like a fresh team, so it was just a very different scenario. But I think Refresh just came into his own in the Pro League group.
Yeah,
I
towards
think
the tail end, right?
Yeah, I think Refresh took a bit more time because his ratings, if you just look at it, I think like every game he was like stepping it up a bit more and more. And then the last, I think 2 games he played 2 or 3 games he played pretty well. But before that, it was Shush definitely. And I think it just makes sense because it's easier, I guess, for Shush to go into the roles that Warp had, because that is essentially what he played before as well. Like he was used to being the anchor player. And then Refresh needs a bit more freedom, like needs to understand what's going on. And this is something Kadian talked about on the post game. I don't know if it was you, Sponge, or someone else. Actually, you're not doing the post game interviews anymore.
I just do the casting now.
You're not on the analyst desk, and I hate you because of that. But okay, we'll have to do it, Yanko. Not great, but okay.
Oh, Jesus.
I mean, yeah, but he just said something along the lines of Refresh needs to understand more about how the team wants to work, where everyone's moving, what's going on the map, which makes sense because he has like that lurky role.
Yeah,
has more freedom.
Sure. Okay. Let's move into the Germans because Big, they had a rough time of it. They actually lost to Renegades. Now, if you guys watch Renegades play, you probably were as confused as me, because Renegades getting caught with their fucking knives out, they're running over each other, they're losing a lot of 5v4 situations after getting picks. I'm sitting there like looking through my fingers while I'm watching, thinking, Jesus. But I guess that means worse signs for Big than it does for Renegades here. Now, Luke, I sent you a link. Whack this one up for everybody. This is Big's results in 2021. Now, they played the Meisterschaft, which they do. They're one of the few teams who tries to play locally within their regional competitions, which they actually lost to Sprout.
They did the same thing last year as well. They also played like something like that and also lost to Sprout. So.
Well, they're spreading the love, right?
It's different Sprout than last year, like without Dehan Snatchy.
Is this the one where Dexter stood in, though? I think Dexter stood in for that matchup and dumpstered them, right? Yeah. Where is it here? Let me bring it up.
You didn't link anything, by the way.
I linked Lucas.
Okay.
I didn't link you guys. It's just
Don't
their
link
results.
it to me then.
Dexter went plus 23, right? In that one there. What else we got? DreamHack Open, they came 3rd, 4th. Their Blast group, they did well. Katowice play-ins, they made it through there. Then in Katowice, they came 13th to 16th, and then last place in ESL Pro League. I want to throw this one back to you, Striker. Is it time for them to make changes, or is it just a couple of off events?
I don't know. From what Tapson was saying in a couple of the post, or like the only post-match interview they actually did after the win against Complexity, like it was basically, he was saying that it was mostly like a mental issue, that they just aren't in the right mood for matches and stuff like that. So I don't know if you should put that responsibility on some of the players.
Okay.
Because if so, then you probably needed to make a change or just do something about it, right? But like in performance-wise, it didn't look like, I didn't have anybody to pinpoint in general. It just looks like everybody's kind of like in the place that they should be, right? So performance-wise, it's probably not an issue, but maybe there's just some mood things that are going on inside the team.
What do you think, Prof? Do you think Big need to make a change now, or do you think they're okay as how they can recover? Because they're still 8th in the world.
The thing is, like,
rankings.
Who do they even pick up? Like,
I don't know, man.
Like, I think Faven is the biggest.
Miho surnames is really good for German team. Like it's Miho Miller, so he can go there.
But he's already in Mad Lions, as we confirmed. So,
confirmed.
So
or OG.
Confirmed. Okay, OG or us. Okay.
Wherever we're selling him. But
so yeah, I don't think there was like a clear player to pick up, right? If you want to replace Tizian, he's a player that is kind of the glue of the team.
Yep.
So it's not easy to replace him. You can replace him if you find like a similar player to fit that role.
What about coaching stuff though? Like they have a new boy in there, right? Do you think that has anything to do with it?
They have Dude. over there. So maybe that is a thing. Like Toby, I think, is someone that with time we started appreciating
We
quite a
grew
bit.
to love. Yep.
Yeah. So and dude that just doesn't have the same level of experience. So maybe that's actually a good thing to point out that happened on the turn of the year, right? So makes sense.
I know.
I think they
I
lost
know
some weird
Oh,
games.
excuse me.
Weird games. That's just what I want to say. They had a lot of advantages. Lost like weird like 5v2s against FPX and stuff like that. It's like this shouldn't be happening.
Some odd situations. Cuban, what did you want to say?
Yeah, I mean, it's just been 2 months since the team started to play this year. But I think like after Pro League, it's just a perfect time to make changes. Like a lot of teams playing, it lasts for like a month or something. Like it ends up like end of March, as far as I remember.
I think it's 11th of
mid-March
April.
or something.
Yeah, but
11th of April
group
is the
stage,
end.
I think.
Yeah.
But the group stage end of March.
Yes.
I think.
Yep.
So yeah, it's like obviously the teams which are willing to make changes, they will do it right away after the Pro League, before the RMR tournaments, I think.
Sure. I wanted to throw this one to you, Cuban, because the way I look at the Counter-Strike, the top probably even 15, maybe even top 20, you can make an argument for. But because of all these changes and how good everybody's getting in the online era, so many more hours are being put in. It seems very competitive. Do you think, even though Big have showed bad results, do you think that says more about Big, or do you think it says more about the caliber of Counter-Strike being played at the moment by the top teams, the top 20 plus?
I think the second thing, like the caliber of the teams playing. I don't want to say like point out bad things about Big, because they are really competitive. They are still 8th team in the world, and they have really versatile players. I was listening actually last time I was driving to Warsaw by car. I was listening to HLTV Confirmed with Toby. Like I love how he approached the game, and like he kind of convinced me that you don't have to be really experienced player, but you may have a lot of like psychological knowledge about like the leadership knowledge and what things you can take a look at, and how can you help the team develop as well. Like you don't have, like if you have, especially when you have really experienced players who like speak about the game a lot, because I know from Legia that they were speaking a lot about the game, about every grenades, about new stuff to comes up with. But in my opinion, what they like, because it kind of reminds me like what tier 3-4 teams are doing. Usually when you look at the strats and like how good the strats is, it's better to copy that from like tier 3-4 teams than to do it from like tier 1 and 2, because like the very top teams, they have better understanding of the game. And what Big, in my opinion, lacks the most is just understanding of this, what is basically happening. They like to implement very new stuff like triple nading something, like a lot of good timings, flashes. But in my opinion, also it's easy to read them. And when I was watching, like we played against them in Flashpoint. So when I was watching them, I was preparing for them, and then I was watching their games. I knew instantly, like when Thompson on Nuke will drop from silo into mini and just sneak into the smokes. It's just one of their strats. But every flash is discussed, like every angle of the flash explosions. It's discussed that Thompson's not gonna get blind, but he can have easy kills from the guys running out of the side or city vent and stuff like this. But once you watch it a couple of times and you have analysts, in my opinion, they are just easier to read than the teams from very top tier.
Okay, all right, that's actually some good insight right there. So a bit telegraphed in their plays. Maybe need to mix things up a bit. I think that's what when they were towards the end of their group in Pro League, things weren't working, right? So they kind of just played like loosey goosey, and Keto went absolutely huge. Is that when they beat? I think they beat Complexity, right?
Oh yeah, that was Keto going really ham.
Yeah, so I guess that was it, right? Playing a bit looser, because there is a lot that the players can offer, and we always spoke about, you know, the systems with Big and Gold B and all. So maybe they got stuck into being a little bit too rigid, because Counter-Strike for a while there was starting to feel that way, right? It was really like, I remember there was a period last year where teams were doing like yard executes on Nuke, and nobody was like flashing through and fighting. It was just like, yeah, you can have as much space as you want. Teams were almost being able to dry run with a lot of the smoke walls, right? Okay, I think.
What did you want to say, Cuban?
Yeah, like I know chat was looking
at
different things
on
his screen.
Go.
Yeah, I just wanted to clear out that like I'm not judging them for like doing wrong. It's just my job to find the weaknesses of the team, and this is why like I'm saying that they are easier to read for me than some like better teams than them, like higher in the rankings.
Right.
It's just like I saw the weaknesses when I was watching their games. That's why I'm speaking about it.
Don't worry, dude. Don't worry about it. I think that they should have, everyone should have pretty tough skin out there with these things. Hopefully, we're not that edgy on this show. We stay, and if we are, it's me looking like an idiot. So it's all good. We try and keep it, calm. Yeah. Let's move on to FPX because surprisingly, and I say surprisingly, that group kind of was open, but I would say FPX considered down the bottom of the barrel. Made it through in one of the top 3 slots, and the way that they did there was having Sunny play for them as a stand-in here. Now, before we dive too much into what that means for this team and are we happy with what we saw, Striker, do you think that means like Chris J's chances of potentially getting back there are dead now that they did well? Because I thought that was up in limbo, wasn't it? We didn't quite know what was going on with Chris J and FPX and whatnot.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what exactly happened with Chris J, but it just looked like he's out. I mean, ever since they even announced that they were going to use or that they were going to part ways with him. So I don't think he was ever on the table to come back. And they're just probably looking for somebody else, unless
Chris J's going into Mad Lions. Who knows?
There
we go. We got some eyebrows.
Unless this stand-in stint with Sunny actually turns into something that I imagine they're just looking for another player.
Well,
but that's not how that's looking so far.
Yeah, if the rumors, not even rumors, like there was a chat on Similar stream with the Devil Walk.
Yes,
and he said that they wanted to get Chris J, and it essentially broke down when the team, like the org and Chris J, were talking about like contract details. So implying it was about like the salary or something like that. So if that was the issue with FPX, I'm pretty sure Mad Lions are not going to sign him. I'm pretty confident about that, considering that Mad Lions' direction right now to pick up like rookie players and maybe like one affordable player that is a bit more experienced. I don't think that is going to be happening. So.
Like their situation kind of reminds me of what was happening in, I don't know, was it still Astralis? I think so. When I think it was Device saying that, like, and it applies the same for FPX. Like they are core of 4 players willing to change in-game leader, actually acquire, but the in-game leader they want, he needs to lead them the way the players want them to. And like it's kind of difficult because like each of the players has its own principles and like own rules about like leading the team, and like it's so I mean I can't find the words right now, but it needs to be really difficult, because I remember when Astralis has changed Carrigan into Glaive, and they were also like probably they expect more freedom. Maybe they don't want to be led like strictly with this dominant like dictator kind of in-game leader as well. But yeah, it's either Sunny or Chris J. It can be really difficult at the beginning for them.
Yeah, and I think we heard there was some interview pieces that ESL were running in the breaks there where Sunny was talking about how the leadership and stuff was going. And I think he said something along the lines of on certain maps that we're going to run the FPX strat book, right? And on other maps, Sunny was going to be able to have more of a say on what he wanted to do. And this is obviously just the early stages, right? If this stays, then maybe they can integrate that together. But do you think, Kuben, that this speaks more to FPX having that philosophy you're talking about and the ways they want to play the game, but they must have a system in place without an in-game leader, right? Do you think that's like a Devil Walk thing? Do you think that's remnants of Crystal? Do you think it's a chance for them to... Do you think it will spur success doing that? Or do you think an in-game leader needs to have control?
Actually, it's the question to them. Like, do they need in-game leader? Or would they prefer someone who can like be not in-game leader, but the leader who they can follow, who can make decision, but they have permission to change the plan during the game, because for sure they have someone like either secondary caller or some, like I said, hierarchy, which allows them to make decisions on their own. Like for sure the roles are set well. I know Madan is like kind of aggressive player. He likes to open the rounds, and I've seen them like using like some part of utility only. They are not playing so many strats in the beginning, like when they use a lot of utility, but they most likely have a plan of like the whole duration of the round, not only beginnings, not only setups, executes, but they play for so long, right? Like their form and core, and they are looking just for the fifth piece of the puzzle. But I'm not sure, are they kind of aware of what are they finally looking for? I mean, it's just better question to them. Like, should they look for more of an aggressive player, or should they look for more of a passive player who let them play their game and he just finishes the round in postponed situations or something,
Sure.
retaking the sides?
Yeah, I don't know if we've seen like the full potential of like say Farley in that roster just yet. You know, we've seen like good things out of Maiden. We're gonna go with Maiden for now. I don't know if it's Maiden or Marden. When on the broadcast when we're doing it, me and Machine decided with Maiden because we asked Prof and Prof said,
Okay.
I don't know. What do you? I have one for you here, Kuben. You know, because I'm probably saying your alias wrong. Is because I pronounce it Cuban. Is it meant to be Kuben?
Kuben.
Yeah, see, this is the thing. It's like even that stuff I fuck. You know what I'm gonna do? I don't know if we should do it at HLTV. We should get a mic in front of everyone's face and we should record how the aliases are said. Prof and Striker. What do you reckon?
That's a thing that I think we even talked about it, maybe not fully seriously, like for HLTV, is just to, if you go on, I think Transfer Market, like the football site, there's actually, for some players, you can actually press the button and they pronounce the name.
We should get them to do that, and they should say their full name.
Yeah, it would be amazing.
All right, let's start that. We'll work on that. That'll be a little pet project.
I'll just pop into our feedback channel.
I can start.
Yeah, there you go. Give us your full name and alias, and we'll pronounce it correctly. I'll try. I'll probably get it wrong.
My name is Jakub kuben Gurczynski.
There we go. That's perfect. We've got the first one off the rank here, so we can get that one going in the future. Perfect. All right. So with FPX, I actually wanted to have a bit more of a broader conversation about international teams because I assume Mad Lions is building one. But we might save that for playtime. What we'll do is we'll finish talking about the EPL stuff. Do we have anything else we want to say about FPX? It's not a thing we can really sink our teeth into because they qualified, but that was about it, right?
Yeah. They just managed to qualify, and it wasn't like super impressive. Look at the ratings from the players. It's like between 1.03 and 0.95 or some shit like that. So no one popped off, no one did shit. It was just like we made it through because big shit the bed, I guess, and OG also. So that's it.
I mean, those two wins were really like 16-14s on the third map and stuff. So it could have easily not been them going through.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the complexity with the other team that went through in that group, right? We probably don't need to jump too much in that. It looked okay, and then in other moments it didn't look great. So we'll have to keep our finger on the pulse of complexity going forward. Now the G2 one, I know this is a fun one. So let's start with G2. To summarize for those who aren't too familiar, Kenny gone, Jack's back, team in the server, actually looking pretty damn good. Now they're halfway through their group. In the opening matchup, though, when Nico was AWPing, there was a lot of focus on him AWPing. Now, for us hardcore fans, which is most people watching this show, you probably understand, you know, that having somebody change to a new role probably not going to work straight away. That it's a difficult balance in Counter-Strike when we talk about entry fragging and lurking and AWPing. There's always chances when there's something else happening in the server or someone else is lurking. We all understand all those dynamics of the game, right? But the Nico talking point got a lot of attention, obviously, because we've known Nico in the past to, you know, take over in-game leadership. We remember the Mouse Sports days when he was the whole shut up during the E-League stuff. Now, I think it brings a special level of excitement when people can talk about those things. And the casters, which were Harry and Hugo, were obviously talking about it quite a lot. Because it's a talking point with the team when a star player, one who is probably one of, you know, the best riflers, you know, he's in the conversation in Counter-Strike history, wants to pick up a role like primary AWPing, it's going to draw a lot of conversation, going to draw a lot of eyes, going to draw a lot of tweets. Now, during that, Striker, I know that were you watching? Because I saw you had some replies to Legia's tweet. Where did you fall on this? Do you think the casters were doing we're overdoing it, talking about it too much? Do you think they were just playing with the storyline, which is a big one for the community? Where did you fall on that?
I mean, of course, it was kind of like a narrative going into that match. So obviously it's going to be a talking point throughout the match, right? Because it's the first real match where he's actually going to play the op. It was even basically the first map where he's going to do it because the previous one was Inferno, where he wasn't even opping. It was a Monic on most of the time.
Yep.
So it kind of made sense because it's just the first time we actually get to see this work. And for him to fail this hard, so it's just always going to make sense for the casters to point that out, especially if you're the guy who keeps dying first, multiple rounds in a row without doing anything, there's going to be a lot of focus on you, whether you are Nico or anybody else, who's just made like a similar transition to that role. So I don't think they were unfair in any way. I feel like they just played with the storylines as it was unfolding, because like Nico was just that bad for him to be a massive talking point in that one Mirage map. And so I don't think it was unfair in any way. Like, sure, Nico usually gets way more flag than anybody else, but I think in this case it was just very well deserved.
Okay. Are you on the other side of that, Prof? Where do you fall on that whole discussion that took place the other day?
Well, I think I agree. Like it was a big talking point, and he did like very poorly on the op. And then you have to think about like what would have happened if he was on the rifle, right? And that was the whole thing. I think it's completely fair. Of course, people will be drawing super big conclusions from one map, like outside of the context of that game. Like when we're in that game, we're going to be focusing on that. But then the game finishes, and then people will be tweeting like, "Oh, Nico shit on the op. Please destroyed another team." Blah blah. And that is going to happen regardless of Harry and Hugo saying that he missed a shot or not. That's going to happen anyway. So it's pointless to try to avoid saying something negative for the context of not hurting Nico or some shit. I don't know what even the point is in that. I understand like sometimes people harp on details a bit too much and miss the whole like half of the rest of the game that's going on, right? You're just looking if Nico is hitting the shots and not if like what the other team is doing to make Nico miss the shot. But let's be real, in that game he had a lot of like pretty easy, let's say easy shots that he missed, and that was, you just have to talk about it. It's super important.
Now, I've brought up just here the stats of us, Lucas, to bring this up. Now, this is Nico's stats in EPL so far. Still has 2 games to play. Most of his kills are with the AWP right here. This is what this is showing over the matches that they have played. But Kuben, I'm sure you can speak to this. There's a big difference between being a secondary AWPer and picking it up when you feel like it, and being a primary AWPer, right?
And this is actually a discussion I want to open, because like, don't you think that Nico wants to become an AWPer? Because like he has the strengths and like skills to become one of the best player in the world.
Yeah.
But like when I kind of calculated like who has becoming the top players in HLTV ranking, it's always AWPers. Like the versatile players, like they mainly AWP, like not permanently, but mainly AWP. They can play rifles as well. And is it like Nico trying to become this top 3 player of the world?
Zybo or Simple,
or,
right?
Yeah. Or maybe like also Carlos Ocelot trying to kind of convince him like, hey man, like we brought you here to make you the best player in the world, like do whatever you want. And maybe when he has his thoughts about it, maybe he's just trying to be this AWPer. I'm not sure if he can become such powerful player having this big grin in his hands. But yeah, I would love to see like Nico back in his prime time as well.
Yeah, and I think what you're talking about here is almost the same take as what I saw when I saw him using the AWP. It was like, okay, well, he's not buying it all the time. As you mentioned, Striker, some maps, Amanek was doing it. And if people have a short memory, Nico used to primary AWP CT side Dust 2 as the A defender, right? He was the guy swinging, helping lock down long, swings to mid long, helps with the mid to B fight, with the bridge fight. He was already doing AWPing roles on phase for some time, right? So it's not completely out of this world to see him pick up the AWP. So I was thinking the exactly same thing as you. If he wants to contend with Simple, Zywoo, Device, the best players in the world, I think that's something that he probably feels he has to do. Is he going to be great at it straight away? Probably not, because he's been... we all remember when the Krieg and AUG were getting used, and he was like, I'm not using that fucking shit. Here he bought the Krieg more than I think he bought anything else, right? He felt like he had the bloody Krieg in his hand all the time. So Nico's clearly trying to make changes in his gameplay to potentially come more of one of those stars like we're talking about. Now, whether this works or not is something we're only going to find out with time. But if he wants to put himself in the conversation, maybe this is the only thing he feels like he could do, right? He tried being a rifler on a star team for a long time, obviously without an in-game leader. So it's left them in a position now where I understand what we're looking at here. And I thought with Jax in the server, I didn't mind it on certain maps. I was talking to you boys at least writing my branded thoughts in our little Discord chat, and I thought that their Vertigo could be good, even though it has been bad with Nico, because I thought Jax coming in was going to be such a pivotal piece. So overall, it's just a general takeaway, maybe to move away from the AWP discussion, Prof. how did this G2 look so far? Because we get them tomorrow versus FaZe Clan first thing. They played NIP, they won. They played Vitality, they won, but they lost to ENCE. So like, are we still middle of the road? What are we thinking?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting that on some maps, I actually thought like Jax did super well. And that is actually not that surprising. Like, it's not that his individual skill was ever that much questions. Like, he had like a bad run of form before he was removed, but overall, he's kind of a skilled player that gets entries, right? So they had kind of rejigged the whole lineup. Hunter is actually the highest rated player, and like by a significant margin over Nico, which also maybe makes sense because of Nico opping and Nico playing kind of supportive op roles in some positions. Like he's flashing for them on train, and then if everyone dies, he's just not doing anything, right? So that's the point that I feel like is interesting. That I feel like Hunter is more of a star player than Nico on the team right now. And then does that actually make sense? And is that going to be changing as they develop with the team and as Nico develops with the opping, when he knows how he wants to take some peaks so they can support him better? Because that, from like, obviously a lot of rounds, a lot of matches, and you just kind of remember here and there. But that was my kind of take on it. And overall, he wasn't, I linked to just like a stat sheet that I put together. He wasn't opping that much. Like his op kill percentage of total kills, 36%. And then compared to like full-time oppers, mostly about 50% plus. So like Zywoo is 49%, Poison 57, then like Roki is also around 50, Cadian is 58. So, and then Amanek is just like 10% less, 24% of total kills, right? So he's still playing a kind of not full-time opper role.
Yeah, and maybe I'll throw this question back to you here, Kuben. Do you think that the likes of Zywoo and Simple play full-time AWPer roles, or do you think they're a bit more hybridy? Like if you compared a Simple or Zywoo to, say, an XE or a Sirison or there should be plenty of names jumping off, or a Shiro, a Poison. Do you think they play different style of AWPing?
I mean, Simple does for sure.
Yeah.
Simple.
It's a loaded question.
It's definitely more of a hybrid than permanent opping. But like you see them, even though it's a hybrid, they do them like, no, maybe not. Like Sirson was the best opping player in recent event, I think. Don't remember which one was that, but it's a tough question actually. Like, but even though they are hybrids, but they are main oppers of their teams, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like it just depends. Like maybe this is what G2 is trying to do as well. Like there were times that some, like let's say on Infernal, like there is like unwritten rule that you don't buy op as T until you get it from City, because it just matters of economy you have for utility, and at this map you need to have a lot of them. So maybe they're trying to play more with rifles, but when they feel op is needed, Nico just is the first one who picks it up, and Amanek is just the secondary opper of the team as well.
Yeah.
I mean, so far it just looks
like even from what Malik was saying, so far it just looks like Nico just has a lot of freedom on when he wants to pick it up and when he doesn't want to pick it up, and they're just like playing around it based on what he decides, right? And you can even tell, like you were bringing up Inferno. I don't think they even bought an op on Inferno outside of like 2 or 3 rounds or something on the T side. I think it might have been Nico in that case. I'm kind of like, the maps are actually mixing together for me now, because like the scenarios actually changed every time almost. Like there was a Mirage game where Nico was opping the entire time on the first one against an IP, and then Amanek was the one who had it on B, and Nico just maybe played it once or twice in middle, and that was it. So they've been changing it a lot. They've been experimenting a lot with it, and I think it just comes down to whatever Nico wants to play at the time. They're not really set on having to have an op all the time. So I think that's just something that they have to experiment with before they figure it out properly. Yeah. Sorry, go for it.
I just want to say, like, maybe just some transitional period. Like maybe they are also looking at some opper to bring him into the team as well, and that's why like somebody had to make a step in, and not not Nico, right? So yeah, maybe there is something as well.
I think trying to remember, I'm 95% sure in one of those post-game interviews, they asked the question about Jax or something like that, and Nico was saying that Hunter used to play well when Jax was in the team. And I remember a discussion that we had, Striker and Prof, on the show when this whole 6-man thing where they were going, are we keeping Amanek? Are we keeping Jax? The thing that I brought up, the reason to keep Jax was what he brought to the team in terms of like a personality, because the guy's always smiling. I've seen him at events. He looks like the type of guy that would just lift the mood, right? He always, looks like a cool dude. Like, that is the best way I can put it. Looks like someone who is fun to be around. So maybe because I'm not going to lie, when I watch Nico play, and I've been watching Nico play for a lot of years, I see his face a lot of the time, and he looks sad. He's not looking happy and fired up unless they're winning. And then I saw that starting to creep in on some of the other faces with Nexa and Hunter and stuff. And if Jax is there and making a stupid joke, right, that can be the difference between going in with a sour mood and a good mood. And it seems crazy to be putting like, do we want a player in the team who might be a liability in certain situations but brings a good mood? I think functionally, if they're using the right way, they can get a lot out of Jax. Like, him as a player, the highlights for me of Jax are playing these weird off-angle positions that are like kind of anchory roles on the CT side, then the T side going aggressive. And I think that if they use him the right way, they can actually get a lot out of him. And there was one thing, this is kind of off topic, and it's just I noticed about the way that G2 play certain positions with Jax. They use him as that ramp player, right? And he plays that weird angle as you rotate around. You're either going to be looking ladder base, like for the rotator elbow, or you got someone watching deep. Jax would always play this off angle, and he has a couple of highlights with a shotgun. I was watching him play Vertigo the other day, and he plays the same angle, like almost exactly the same as it was Nuke. And as they just step out, he just has this really good aim for it. I don't know what it is. I don't know if maybe I'm focusing too much on one player, one position, but he definitely has a skill set about him that I think can be valuable for this team. So I hope he sticks around for a little while. But
he does have a good skill set in terms of like an entry fragger, having like quick reactions and like first bullet accuracy and stuff. So I think he's valuable. If I think he's not really the question mark though, right? In this scenario, I think.
Yeah. Then do you think it's if Nico just changes his mind type thing, and then they have to?
No, I mean just in general, the opping discussion is the big question mark. I don't think it was ever Jax coming back entirely.
Okay.
Yeah, like I was having some research regarding Jax because, like, I was
having a look. Maybe wanted to play.
And yeah, I know like he's kind of like, and also the players we've been talking with, like they were speaking about him that he's really great player of like someone who makes space for a team as well. Like he can be an entry, but also he knows how to create space for its team as well. So it's like, yeah, the values and qualities I would require from a rifler. And when Nico, I know that he has permission to do probably whatever he wants, especially when he has his cousin in the team and like his friends like Nexa. And yeah, like he could either hardly lurk, sometimes even aggressive lurk, but he could be an entry as well, like dependent on probably the situation. This is what Jax can bring them as well, beside the good atmosphere, which you have mentioned, chat, like which is also really important. Like who wants to play in this funeral atmosphere,
It's not a great setting, is it? Ugh.
There needs to be some crazy guy, and I'm pretty sure like Voxic was bringing the same atmosphere into the team, like these bad jokes and like boosting everyone's confidence as well.
Sure. All right, let's do this. Is the general consensus that I feel is that this G2 looks better? Does anybody object to that? Anybody want to play devil's advocate to that?
Better than the Kenny S Nico version. That's
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue. I mean, it's a super small sample size, but it kind of feels that it fits more than that one.
Well, we get G2 versus FaZe tomorrow, so we might get a good test there. If you guys want to tune in for that one, that's in at 12 o'clock. We got the Carrigan Nico.
That's the bingo card. Sponge shilling for ESL.
Nice. Yeah, you can find that one at twitch.tv/ESL_CSGO. Nico versus Cold Zero, I think would be fun. I think there's a lot of fun stuff to go on tomorrow with that one. Let's keep this going. ENCE is surprising everybody. Kuben, you were mentioning before. Diha as a player. Now, he has been a beast if you look at the stat lines for ENCE. Obviously, Spinks is, now that he's getting to play on an actual decent internet connection, is showing up in massive ways as well. Have you been surprised that ENCE have taken some scalps over in Pro League?
Actually, like looking at their scores, I mean, once I remember I just refreshed HLTV and there was like 9 6-0 for them against G2.
Yeah.
Like playing T-Train. So
Pretty
like,
two-sided.
yeah. So yeah, I was kind of surprised, but like going more into the game, I saw G2 winning Mirage, I think 16-5 or 8. And then like all of like, it's not like they win the game convincingly and like, you know, winning 2-0 or something, but at least they are winning, right? This
Sure.
is what, like, no one will remember like what was the score, but if they won a game or not, and if they go if they go further to playoffs, this is what matters the most for them. And I'm pretty sure this is like the biggest test for them right now. And as you said, like Spinks, like I was watching some of the games earlier this year, I think in January, and like this guy's has really insane mechanics. Like he's really skilled. Like I think it's the right choice. I know they were considering TMB as well before, but they took Spinks. He was kind of underperforming, maybe because of the connection or like some internet issues. But now, like he just make a step forward, and they have made his step back, and like they just replacing each other continuously. Like one of them is shining and winning them most of the games as well.
Yeah,
I really
interchangeable.
like this team. Looking at them, definitely, and I'm happy about Alu because like he has been like this fifth wheel of the car before. Like everyone just put all the blame on him.
Yeah.
But seems like he has found his place as well in the team.
Yeah, I think the experiences he would have had with the whole public falling out with his ex-teammates, right? Probably quite a humbling thing, especially for somebody, what's Alu now, 28? You know, he's obviously an older boy as far as Counter-Strike years go. So maybe an experience, you know, where he can have another crack at it all. I think another interesting player in here, the other remaining Finn, Doto, he's actually been pretty good as a supportive element, and he's been pretty clutch. Like he feels like he has a bit of a brain on him, right? He goes about these situations a little bit differently. So we spoke a little bit about Snappy before. Do you think these guys are legit, Prof? Do you think this is going to be able to replicate, or it's one of these situations where the big teams they haven't had their eyes on? There's some roster changes. How do you diagnose this current ENCE?
Yeah, I think it's fair to put them in the top 20 to 30 area. I think that is where you can put them and not overhype like a couple of best of threes. Yeah, it's just like super early for them. I also think like it's not like this roster was made to be top 5 in the world. I think that's not even realistic. They have like a couple of just players that they could pick up, and they picked up like pretty good free agents, or I don't know if Dika was paid or not. I think he was bought out probably from Sprout. But still, they put together a good mixture of team of players that can do something and show promise, and maybe down the line they can upgrade someone and go further. But I think this is like the top 20, 30 is where they kind of belong and will be for the next, I don't know, 8 to 6 months or something.
What do you think, Striker? You with that?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, Spinks was just a massive difference maker so far. It's basically like who earned them all of these wins essentially, because he was the highest rated player, and like in 3 of those 5 maps that they won, like by far. By far on 3 of them, where he was like massively like carrying them. So I think that's just made the biggest difference. So I think we just need to look to him, because if he ends up consistently putting these kind of performances, the setup around him is pretty insane. They have Diha as another star player who I think can always kind of be there, because he's shown that under Sprout as well. And then Alu as like a decent opper, as long as he kind of gets back into form, because I feel like he's definitely looked a little bit shaky so far with this team compared to the previous version, which could just be down to, you know, he's not in game leading anymore. He's not really setting it up around himself. He has to get used to how Snappy is calling and stuff.
Yep.
So I think that makes perfect sense. And then you have like the supportive elements in Snappy and Dodo. So I think like the setup of this team is actually very decent if you get the performance to go alongside it.
It makes sense on paper. Now they take on Vitality tomorrow night, which would be another big test. They already beat G2. If they beat Vitality, that would be a massive victory and really quite upset this group. Now, Kuben, going into that matchup tomorrow, you still have Vitality as a hard favorite. You think ENCE could upset in that one?
Like looking at recent results of Vitality, I would rather go for ENCE. Like I want to support my Polish players. So yeah, I think I would go for them. Like I want them to go further.
What do you think is because we spoke a bit about Vitality before, so we'll only quickly check on them now. But now that they have to put Masuda back in on Dust 2, for example, and Shock's back in on Inferno, do you think those maps are like going to be a chance for teams to target Vitality, or do you think they're going to be fine? Like they'll easily be able to just plug their players back in?
I would like. It depends like how confident they feel. In my opinion, like since they were playing T-side on Train, I presume this was their map pick against G2.
Yeah.
Like if they feel comfortable, I'm not sure if Vitality is playing Train at all.
No, they
I think
ban it.
it's their perma ban. So
Yeah.
yeah, like if like it depends from in-game leader and probably coach plan as well, because if you are confident enough, and I think ENCE right now they are confident about how they play, and especially their entry fraggers as well, snappy about leading the team as well. They shouldn't even trying to avoid the best map of Vitality, but just get it rolling and give it a chance as well. Like play the best map, not their weakest as well. Because like you are playing against the you are more unexperienced than they are, and if you are trying to adapt to gameplay of someone else, and this team is better, you're always like step behind them. So I would rather go for their best map and not even thinking about how good Vitality plays it.
Okay, so Clash, they're going to have to go on with their own style. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to jump into some viewer questions, which we won't have a lot because we kept you as a mystery until we get to the very end. But I know there was at least one that I definitely wanted to talk about. Do you guys have anything else you want to talk about Pro League before we move on? Are we good?
I think the only thing that we should touch on maybe is mouse ports.
Oh yeah, they looked not great, and they'll probably continue to look not great at the moment. I am shocked at how disorganized they look for a month worth of practice. They don't look, I don't know what you boys think, but when I watch it feels like no one is willing to take a risk or initiative mid-round until a couple people die, and then Frozen and Rops with room will try and kill everybody. That's what it feels like to me. Does anybody else have anything that they think, with this Mouse Sports roster, it doesn't look good? I don't know. I'm not really sold at all on it right now.
I completely agree with that. Like that analysis. Like it feels like they need either like another voice at some points, or someone to be like mid-round to say like, okay, we're going now and not in like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much of that falls on Dexter or how he usually called or whatever, but that point feels definitely weird. And at some point, it literally just looked like Robs was gigabaiting everyone, because everyone was just like not even getting space for his baits to make any sense. And I can't really blame him, because he's doing the same thing he used to do, and it worked quite well. And he still gets some kills, right? He's still, I think, third or fourth highest rated player in the group stage. But it just looks so useless and pointless because no one is making any progress in these. Like the 3-pack that is making map control on T just isn't doing anything. And also CT side Dexter is playing not really well, but also playing all of the new positions, except on Dust 2, where he's actually playing fairly well. Like his Dust 2 ratings are the best from all of his maps, and that is where he's still playing like A rotation and something like that. Other maps he's kind of struggling, which is to be expected.
This sounds worse though. Dexter is not even the lowest rated player for Mouse, BMS is. And I know he's meant to be like the young entry fragger little rifler, but I swear to God, with my eye test, it looked like Dexter was dying first more. And I would say that if we're lacking a voice and that pack that we're talking about has to be entered in on by Dexter every time, then it's like they're just having where Carrigan used to try and run in and make space, but this time around it's a less experienced in-game leader. So if Dexter's dead early and then there's no one who's organizing things mid-round, because you don't have Chris J there anymore to potentially pick up that mantle, who's going to do it? Acor.
And Acor also hasn't been amazing. Let's be real.
It's only been Frozen and Rops, and in both situations, it's felt like they've either gone mega carry or they've just put on the bait situation, put the rest of their team on the hook and just gone, well, I guess make some space and I'll try and win the 1-on-4. Like on the Vertigo game, I remember Mouse was playing, Rops almost won a 1-on-5, and then the next round he won a 1-on-3. And I'm just got like, this isn't sustainable. Like, I know that I'm probably judging a little bit harshly here, but I think I was expecting more. I think what I did was undervalued just how much Carrigan did, which I should not do. You got any thoughts on this team, Kuben, that you've noticed with this new Mouse Sports roster?
Yeah, first of all, like I wonder how much time they will be given, because out of 5 last games, they've won only 1 map. And
Yeah.
I know they play against like tier 1 teams, but they brought Dexter for a reason. They have experienced players, but I think if it lasts for like 1 more event, they will have to do something with this. Like I doubt Mouseport has time to wait. Like they always want to be at the very top. But I don't know like what they can do better. Like probably just bootcamp and like put more work into it. Maybe we have the situation like you guys mentioned, that they don't have these decisive players who can open the runs for them, and maybe they are just at the level when like Dexter coming into the team thinks that he needs to micromanage. Like he haven't played at this level, honestly, right? Like he played for Australian teams. Like he could micromanage that. And I remember Nifty saying that what he felt in being in Renegades, that he had to micromanage everybody step by step, like walking hand by hand. And maybe this is like the type of the game sense of Australian players. Like Chad probably has more to say about it, but when it comes to European CS and like the level are they playing at, like he needs to require demand more from the players, like not like manage them every single time.
Sure.
Maybe.
Well, I think that's hard to do, right? With BMAS as the entry fragger, who still realistically has limited experience. Acor, he looked good in Mad Lions for a period, but even then started to taper off a bit, right? So I think some of these pieces, they need to either find the way to get the most out of them, or maybe it is just a matter of time and they will grow, right? Because I think that's Dexter was saying something about that he felt that he had room to grow with this team, or I forget the exact quote or what I was hearing or reading. So maybe it is just one of these time situations, but it does now remind me of like North when they would just default with like MSL and then no one would do anything and then they just like lose a round and like someone went for a pick and died. It kind of gave me remnants of that, and that was from like a couple years ago. So disheartening because I want Dexter and Co to do well, but like you said, Kuben, you're right. It's fucking the best teams in the world. Like we're looking at a really stacked group, so maybe it's a little bit too harsh to judge here. Like,
I think, I mean, just to continue on that conversation around like the entry fragging problem, is definitely. I was just checking it out because from what I saw, Robs was even more aggressive than he would have usually been. Maybe because he just felt forced into it.
Yeah,
that's possible. I just checked it out. He literally has the highest entry stats out of everybody on that
like
team.
Attempts or
And he has 50 combined opening kills and deaths, and that's by far the most on the team from Pro League.
I know Dexter was like dying a
There's
lot.
like BMOS has 32. Dexter has like somewhere around there as well. I think 40. Yeah, 39. Acor has 45 or so. Still less as an opera than Rops, who usually, yeah, he can be like an aggressive lurker, but he usually isn't that way.
yeah.
So I think that just speaks to a lot. And
well, there's the entry attempt percentage. So it just like doesn't matter if you win or lose the duel. Robs is 26%, which is the most in the team. So then it's Acor 23, then Dexter 20, then Bimas 16%, and then Frozen 13% of all entries.
Where do you see this, by the way? I'm sure I have to know where it is, but
underrated, like kind of hidden part of the stats. So you need to go on a team,
get it from somewhere else.
Team players overview.
Got it. Yeah. I actually know about this.
Yeah. Okay. So that needs to be rejigged. But the attempt is the one that is concerning here. Not the success, because if you have high, that it's obviously out correlates to the attempt. So yeah, you'd be expecting BMS to be getting involved a lot more, and also they have like certain situations where players are just getting ice. Like I watched FaZe when they ran out a ramp on Mirage versus Mouse, and they checked 3 spots, and that were the exact 3 spots BMS was playing from round to round. Like Rain was just running out, ready to kill him. It felt like Carrigan obviously had their number, and this justifies right here why, if we had any questions, which I definitely did, on why Carrigan would pick, it's been answered immediately. FaZe look much better than this Mouse roster. All right.
I think what it comes down to is just, I think they have to find the right combination of roles at this point, just because Dexter is just thrown into, like Prof said, pretty much new roles almost across the board.
Yeah.
And with Robs, being maybe himself feeling a bit more forced into entry fragging, maybe they just need to set up a better system to make sure that they deal with that problem. And that's just something that they will have to deal with trial and error and just like switch some things around until they find the right combination for that. Maybe Frozen just needs to take a bit more aggression now
Sure.
that he just has this constellation of players. So
Though there's definitely talent there. Let's wait and see what happens with Mouse. And we're going to jump just quickly into some viewer questions. We probably don't have too many. We're just a little bit over time, so we'll make this one quick. There was one prof. I don't know who asked it. And you and I mentioned this to you before. I'll just ask it because Kuben, normally this side of the show we ask questions directed to our guests. Yeah. So we didn't get many tailored towards you, so we're going to throw a couple your way if we can think of them. One of the ones somebody asked was the difference between now I'm going to rephrase the question, but they asked what the difference between commentating online and LAN was. Who gives a fuck about that? Let's talk about the difference between coaching online and LAN. Now that you've been stuck where you have to coach online, how does it feel to do so? You get to be in the server. Is it when you're sitting in your office doing your stuff? To make it easier to like note, how many kills they got with the XM shotgun, or like, does it make coaching easier or harder being at home and online?
I think it makes it harder easier being at home than, coaching at home than especially because if we talk in terms of official games, it's easier at home because you can switch between the players. You can give them constantly ideas. You can you don't have to touch somebody to make pause or just point out the finger to referee that you need the timeout. So definitely it's more beneficial for the coach, but I presume most of the coaches, since our communication with the team is limited, and at very top coaches, they have to adjust to this rule during the practice as well. So this is what I was doing as well lately, that I tried to minimize my communication within the team, just giving them short notices, more communication, rotation, about some certain things. But now probably the teams which are less experienced, they gain more because of that period, right? Maybe Gambit or can be good example as well. But yeah, Gambit I think is the best example, that we don't really know how much 19 years old Nafani may have as an in-game leader in their team. Of course, they have Hobbit, who's experienced and who's probably second caller, but maybe their coach is giving them a lot of advices as well, and probably cooling them down very often because how old are these guys and probably how emotionally they come to their games. So in my opinion, online era brings more to these lower tier teams because they can gain, especially when they have experienced coach, and they can gain more thanks to that. And this is why we are also doing these things in 2021, during online era.
Good year to experiment with that kind of stuff. We had a couple of questions coming in from people asking about that. Ego. Well, let's make it a bit broader. Let's talk about the Polish scene, right? Now I looked through, I just brought it up on HLTV.org. It's the regional rankings, and Ego are currently the highest ranked Polish team. Obviously, you spoke a bit about Diha over there in ENCE. Snatchy's in this Ego roster with Rallen. We got Furlan in here, the new kid Fiku. I think I've heard some good things about him in the past, and Reitz is in there. But as I go down this list, I'm still reading these same names that we've been talking about for years, right? Rallen is in the mix here. We've got Spiro, we've got Mouse here, we got Maniz, all these names, Groovy, right? They've been floating around forever, but have never been able to achieve the heights that the legendary Polish teams achieved. What do you think's going on? Because it's clear to me there's a lot of players, there's a lot of talent, but they never seem to end up together. Is there that many politics going on in Polish Counter-Strike?
I actually disagree, because there is when most of the teams, when you're building something new, you usually take 2 or 3 experienced players, and I think Ago is they basically has changed their approach, because before they were trying to do something different as well, having esports lab on their side, who's kind of experimenting with the players, making all this medical stuff, tracking their every move most likely. But now I think they kind of missed the results out from the team. So I'm happy for Snatchy, of course. I like this guy a lot, and he's kind of sentimental guy, and that's why he just believed that when I had my best times with AGO, I want to come back there and perform the same way as I did before.
Okay.
But this guy Fiku, it's kind of like, in my opinion, is another Mihu. Like similarities in the nicknames, but yeah. Then on the other hand, in Team Anonymous, where there is a Snacks, Innocent, and I don't know, said wrong name, but there is a K and Killer.
Yeah.
Who guys who are like kind of like they come from Team Aves, and recently has been bought from this team.
Okay.
And those are like two up and coming talents. One of them has even like played with Innocent in 2v2 tournament. They have won it. He kind of reminds me like myself, maybe not in terms of personality, but about like being versatile. Like he's kind of like, he can play aggressive way, but he can also be a lurk player. He can like, he's really good in terms of utility as well. I really like this guy. Like if I would have to build up the team, I would definitely pick up him.
Okay.
There is Menyo, someone who was the guy, he plays in Anonymous as well. He was formerly second caller in Wisła Krakow, where Lord is a coach. And he has joined this new team. I think Anonymous is like, maybe they haven't proven yet, but they can play on equal level to what AGO is showing right now.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, so,
I think
like,
it was the
there is-
Krakow beat Extreme the other day, didn't they, as well? So
yeah, they have won an event. This Sweet Snow, one of the episodes. Recently they just underperformed. What is fine, like in Poland, there is like new investors, like former basketball player Marcin Gortat. He has invested a lot of money. There is a league, PLE, Polish Esport League. Like,
okay.
and there is another like Polish singer artist invested his money as well, and they have like, because this was why we haven't participated in many Polish events as Virtus.pro before. Like there was nothing to get. Maybe even like marketing value was just a little. And right now, what they did in this PLE is they have bought the slot into Blast League. I don't know which one. Like I'm Blast
The
Showdown or
qualifier,
something.
right? Yeah.
Qualifier. So
Fantasy
someone who
Expert.
win the league have guaranteed spot in this showdown or something. Like I haven't been following that much the name of the cups, and Blast makes me most confusing. But yeah, at least they get something. Like for winning Polish is like German Meisterschaft, and in Polish it's just ESL Championship. If you win it, you have had like Wisła Krakow. They have actually played instead of somebody, Illuminar, I think, but they could play in close qualifier to IM Katowice. So I think once the Polish team will go through further in these tournaments, in these like close qualifiers, they can be like they can have their stability, because being in these top 15 teams among the top teams gives you more opportunities to play, to show up, gain points, and then they can be invited into their more events and just get the results. And I believe like at some point we'll have some team playing at the top level, but I really doubt they can repeat the story in like 3 to 5 years maybe.
Probably won't be
I
as
wish them the
entertaining
best.
either. Probably
Yeah.
won't have a Mercedes involved and a whole different video game. The legacy for years like that. Do we have any prof that came through that maybe I missed?
There's just that when you're talking about the Polish scene, there's also something a striker wanted to ask, but
Sure.
about the
Sorry,
Polish
Striker.
scene, Tudson is someone that people in chat are asking about.
Tudson.
So Tudson, yeah.
He played in Henry G's Aces ROG event as with the British team.
As an amateur
Is he
player.
having in a team right now, or?
I don't know. He was at Epsilon, wasn't he? Or was it Project?
Says no team on our side at this point, so I guess he's not.
I think he's free.
I don't know if you would. I'll link him here for you, Kuben. I'm not too sure if you're familiar with this guy. He has a Polish flag, but I know that he
last played with the Bialy mix, the Still Duno.
Okay, I don't know where he lives. I just know that he played on the UK team, so he must have some ties to the UK
No, I think
as
he
well.
played against Henry G.
No, he played on
Henry
Henry's
G
team.
was upset because
Wasn't he the one who Henry G purchased the PC?
Yeah. He played. I'm positive, Prof. He played on Henry's team.
Okay.
I'm positive.
Doesn't really matter.
It doesn't matter.
Okay. The question, Striker, you wanted to ask is just to like recap the situation with the team, right? So
Well, yeah, just like taking it from the top, right? Just because like the whole roster process is obviously like quite complicated, and you went through it all, and obviously I like the detail. It was quite a lot of insight, but just to kind of simplify it and just put it all in one piece. Like you already have TMB, obviously, who's already like set to be in this roster. You have like the coaching staff. You said you were looking for like an experienced game leader who the players can look up to. So somebody with like an established name, like an authority, and then 2 oppers, and then 3 more riflers. Is that the what I was getting?
Yeah, exactly. Like, okay, I can tell something more.
Oh, here we go.
Like we are not in the rush of getting this tier 1 player. I mean, if it can go both ways. Like so far, we'll start with the rookies and up and coming talents. In the meantime, we are still in talks and more talks than negotiations with some of the tier 1 players as well. But if, let's say, what if it goes the direction we want to head, and this rookie up and coming talents team will become successful, like in, let's say, half of the year or something, and this would be something super good, I would say. But I would love them to have somebody who can be role model for them, especially as in-game leader or like second caller. But I'm not saying no to this. I mean, I'm not saying this is our priority to get this player. Like once the group stage is over, that's why I know like when the group stage is over, you know. So I have an understanding of when should I look into more nicknames as well, like when somebody is benched or just free agent as well.
When do you sorry, who did I interrupt?
That just amounts to 7 players, right? Then you're looking to have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you have like an extra, basically like an extra opper who's going to swap out with another one, and then like 1 extra rifler who's going to rotate with the others.
They're free, yeah.
Yeah.
When do you expect to like announce some signings and have some of the stuff like that done?
Most likely this week we'll release some names. As I said, like it's like contracting stage. Like we're just waiting for the legal side of most of the contracts. So yeah, like it will be, I think, a couple of names revealed this week.
Oh, you guys are signed up to this FunSpark Ulti 2021 Europe Regional Series 1. Jesus, the name is bloody long. On March 29th, which is pretty soon. So I guess the roster will have to be announced within the next week and a half, right? So
yes.
you need a team for then. All right. Well, I think we'll leave it here. Now,
I have one more question.
Okay, we have one more question.
You're a Flashpoint team. What is going on? Is Flashpoint a priority for you guys, or is it not happening at all?
Regarding Flashpoint, actually, like it's out of my responsibilities, so I have like nothing to say what's gonna happen because it's just out of my hands, and I'm not taking decisions in here. Okay. I will do whatever the decision has been made, you know, at the top.
All right. Well, it'd be good if Madlines stick around and Flashpoint isn't a thing, right? Like if that was unfortunately to happen because they only bought into it because of Flashpoint, right? Prof, that was the initial.
It was connected, yeah. I guess.
So it'd be good to keep a big name, a big or like Madlines around. So we're end of the show. So Kuben, thank you very much for joining us here this evening. I open the floor to you now. Do you want to say anything to the fans or the community, or you know maybe someone you don't like? You know, do you have anything you want to say before we close this one down?
Actually, like probably the same thing which I recorded for my announcement. That's like I would love people to support us because it's I don't want all of them to be skeptical that it's something new, it probably will fail. Like this is something innovative, and this is something like we want to bring in, and maybe this is the future of CS, of having like these experienced players, because like the oldest players playing at the scene are probably 33, maybe past 35 years old, but probably soon enough, like all of us can share our experience, and doesn't make sense to just change our profession, but just share our knowledge with the younger generation. And this is what I think where the direction is, and more teams of like lower tier should do that and bring up the upcoming talent and just develop them in a short way, not like bringing up like I said, like giving the players the ball and let's just play football and that's it. So yeah, and like stay tuned for more updates regarding the lineup. Most likely this week we're gonna announce somebody. And yeah, like Chad said, like we have upcoming tournaments. I mean, there is not much time to prepare. players haven't even met on the server yet, but I'm sure they're willing to show up and just give their best to play for Mad Lions colors right away.
All right, exciting stuff. Another international team joins the fray. It feels like we've got millions of them out there now. Now, this has been episode 31. Thank you very much for Mad Lions and Kuben for making this possible, coming on the show. And we did a bit of a special one this time around. Anchor.fm/HLTV. Once again, if you guys want to find it on the Spotify's, the bloody Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, all that stuff, it's got all the information over there. Head out to that one. Search HLTV Confirmed on YouTube. Go find the HLTV page. You can subscribe, and the VODs and shit are normally up in 24 to 48 hours. Next show will be next Tuesday as well. We do not have a guest book just yet. That'll be Tuesday the 23rd. Yeah, there will be another break day for EPL, so we'll get another show up then. And once again, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Add some fun to your space with Xtrfy, designed in Sweden with focus on quality products built on experience. You're looking at Project 4, their 4th generation of products with super cool colorways to stand out, with matching sets to satisfy with a solid B4 bungee, lightweight ergonomic M4 mouse, the K4 keyboard is fantastic, all of which are performance focused, and finish it off with colorful GP4 mouse mats that are bold in design and smooth on the surface. The retro theme in particular has got the feels. Complete your setup with Xtrfy. No regrets guaranteed.
Headshot, nice. Fist bumps go to the teammates.